Part 224. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2237. When Jia Yan was researching on the internet before, he knew that this ice mineral cannot be transported out of the local area quickly because its energy will dissipate quickly after leaving, and it is not worthwhile to use unique preservation technology, so this although ice minerals are very useful in the local area, their prices are very low, and it is also very difficult to make energy stones. Therefore, few forces are willing to mine them. As a result, there are many such minerals in that unique land of ice and snow. More and more minerals are being born. In some places, for the sake of environmental protection, they are even mined for free by powerful outsiders. This is where Jia Yan is going. Free resources. Even if it costs a little money, I'm afraid it's just a bargain. When Jia Yan gets there, if he has the opportunity to use it for training at a low price, he may have to adapt to the ice and snow or before his body can absorb it. Before the effect becomes low, there will be a very cost-effective improvement. But energy is one thing. I still have to pay attention to collecting all aspects of knowledge and cultivation that I need. Otherwise, if I just increase the energy and get closer and closer to the domain lord level, I may take more and more wrong paths. The more twisted it is, the bad it is. Jia Yan pays great attention to this kind of thing. This is like repaying a debt. In the past, he almost worked alone behind closed doors. Although it is not said that he learned nothing, he almost all followed the self-study routine, and Yin Yang Dao did not learn much from other training programs. Therefore, he is still flawed in many aspects. Fortunately, at least Jia Yan is not the kind of person who is overly confident in himself. The most terrifying thing is to think that his own abilities are invincible, because if problems break out, it will be a huge loss for Jia Yan and may even endanger his life. Even if his life is not endangered, even if he has the opportunity to be promoted to Territory Lord in the future, he will probably be the weakest Territory Lord, or the Territory Lord with huge flaws. Of course, this is not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing is that he has no chance to be promoted at all and is stuck at the top of the intermediate galaxy. You must know that the promotion of a Territory Lord is a huge hurdle. Once you reach the peak of the intermediate galaxy, you will understand that not everyone can be promoted successfully. Black Sheep's initial promotion, before Jia Yan was promoted to the top of the intermediate galaxy, he thought it was nothing. But when he reached the top of the intermediate galaxy and faced such obstacles, he realized that Black Sheep was indeed a genius. Although he is far inferior to the Zerg Queen herself, it cannot be forgotten that he is a genius. Those who can successfully advance from the pinnacle of the intermediate galaxy to Territory Lord are all geniuses. Even a Territory Lord who is destined to be inferior to the Zerg Queen is still a genius. Jia Yan did not underestimate himself, he knew that he was also a good genius, but this kind of genius ability became somewhat lost to everyone in the black hole area. The existence of the top mid-level combat-oriented galaxy is not only terrifying in combat, but what is even more terrifying is that their chances of promotion may be higher than Jia Yan's. Jia Yan's disadvantage is that he is a genius, but the problem is that he has studied a new cultivation path himself. This cultivation path feels a bit crooked. Although in battle, due to the explosiveness of positive and negative forces, and the lack of other strong people, the superiority of the response strategy may have an advantage in combat effectiveness, but there are many problems in promotion. For example, his promotion did not draw on any previous experience. If he still relied on his past momentum to pass the test, he would probably fail the first time he was promoted, and then he would either die or be unable to recover, and then he would be stuck in front of the domain lord for the rest of his life. Spent. Therefore, what Jia Yan needs to do most now is to improve his energy while also making up for his knowledge. He will patch up and repair all aspects of his yin and yang dao like missing pieces, so that he can improve your chances of promotion. Boom 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 boom. The train like speeding car flies in the sky, not to mention the speed of light. In many cases, it does not even break the speed of sound. It also needs to make a good stop from time to replenish fuel and stop to rest and trade. There are many merchants on this vehicle and there are many goods inside. After all, this is the most economical and safest means of doing business. In the private room of this car, Jia Yan felt the joy of traveling along the way. In the first 10 days, in addition to practicing and studying his own subspace, he spent the whole day admiring the scenery of the outside world. Until 10 days later, someone in another vehicle next door knocked on the door. "Sir, my master is a hospitable businessman. We are destined to meet each other. He wants to invite some of the nearby gentlemen to come to our room for some drinks. I wonder if you are interested." Jia Yan was surprised, then smiled, and nodded in agreement. This is still very interesting to him, and judging from the information found on the internet, there are really many similar things. Many people are conducting transactions and making friends on such ultra-long distance vehicles, etc. Many people have even completed some legendary tasks on this kind of train. Therefore, similar train dating events have a great historical custom in at least this area. What's more, in reality, such an ultra-long distance journey can only last tens of thousands of kilometers in one day. If the journey lasts for half a year without social interaction, it will still be too lonely for many people. Although Jia Yan would not have such emotions, he would not mind experiencing a similar feeling of making friends. It's been a long time since he had a similar feeling. It's still a bit fresh for Jia Yan to regain such a sense of social interaction. Not long after, Jia Yan followed this creature to the private room next door. Although they are next door neighbors, this is the technology in the starry sky, and the sound insulation effect is so good that Jia Yan doesn't even know there is anyone next door. "Oh, look, a new friend has arrived. This is a young friend. In this room, there is a creature that looks like a monkey, and it looks very old. He is wearing clothes similar to a human suit, and he looks very knowledgeable. Hello, sir, am I being presumptuous by coming here? Oh, there is actually fruit wine from that city. I saw the information online, but forgot to buy it. I didn't expect you to have it here." Jia Yan looked at the old monkey creature, and then smiled slightly. The old monkey creature waved to Jia Yan's subordinates to leave the private room. Then the private room door closed and he asked Jia Yan to sit down. "Come on, young man, it would be great if you like this wine. I also like this wine very much. It has a unique natural taste. My name is Sean, and what about you?" "Senior, my name is Jia Yan." "Does it smell like nature?" "Haha, there is indeed a very unique sense of nature on the North Star. Your words immediately enlightened me. I know why I like this planet." "Oh? Your Excellency Jia Yan, in this case, are you still a creature from an alien planet?" "I am actually a creature from an alien planet. Just like you said, in the North Star, I can be close to nature. This makes I can't leave here for the rest of my life, and now that I'm old, even if someone asks me to go out, I won't go, ha ha ha." Both parties easily revealed their true identity, but neither said anything about their strength. Because of things like origin, even if it is an alien visitor, it seems that there will not be too many problems in the North Superstar. There are too many powerful creatures from aliens, and no one is as good as Jia Yan. As you can imagine, I am thinking about your assets on the alien planet, because many powerful people have sold off their assets before coming to the North Star, and after coming to the North Star for a long time, even if the outside world has assets, they will almost always be taken away by other people. The strong ones are occupied. Therefore, it is more correct not to talk about these things at critical times, but during the journey, there will be no trouble in casually chatting with strange passers-by. Just don't go into too much detail. As for strength, you have to keep it secret from passers-by. If others guess it, you can't say it directly. After all, this is a matter of life and death. It turns out that Senior is also from the outside world. Haha, in fact, I have a similar feeling to what Senior said. There are so many things that can be done in Biostar. On alien planets, strong people like us are just strong people. Respected by people, but in many cases, there is no freedom. Biostar is different. As long as you don't tell, no one will know your strength, and your body will not be different from most people. This feeling is different from that in the outside world. It's so different, and I don't know how powerful the powerful seniors who created this planet were. It's almost as if they are gods. Jia Yan sighed. The closer you get to the interior of the North Superstar, the more you feel admiration for the predecessors who created this planet. Even saying admiration is a bit wrong, but you feel that those are the gods you should look up to. Even with this level of strength, Jia Yan couldn't imagine that such a strong person existed in the universe. Yes, those seniors are really terrifying beings that no one can imagine. They used the power of living creatures to create a light-year-long planet. This ability far exceeds all the strong ones, but Jia Yan, there are only a few such strong men in history, and they have stopped showing up for a long time. No one knows whether these strong men at the top of the galaxy are alive or dead, so there is no need to go too far. It is enough to shock the people of the past and know that there is no such strong person today. The monkey creature also sighed. Jia Yan nodded. The two creatures sat down and chatted for a few words, and they became familiar with each other. Not long after, the door of the private room was pushed open again, and several other creatures walked in from the outside world. They are all biological neighbors in the surrounding rooms. As a result, the scene became more lively. Through chatting, Jia Yan knew that most of these creatures were businessmen or tourists, but no matter what status they were, those who could afford to live in a private room would not be some small role, because in addition to having money, the private room also required certain qualifications. Status, otherwise you may not be able to get a private room. If Jia Yan hadn't interacted with Princess Sela for a period of time, he might not have been able to sit in this private room. It can be seen that the people around him, even businessmen, are not small businessmen. As a result, this unique exchange finally turned into a very high-end feeling, and Jia Yan learned a lot while listening. I estimate that among them, Senior Monkey is also a strong man. I don't know how strong he is. One of the other two should be a strong man, probably at the galaxy level. A junior galaxy level. Or mid-level, I can't tell. Jia Yan judged the strength of those present and then felt relieved. There are many strong people in Biostar. This has been known for a long time. What's more, in a private compartment where only those with status can sit, it is natural that there are galaxy-level strong people inside. This is probably one of the reasons why many robbers are unwilling to rob such trains. After all, there must be strong people guarding the train itself. There is a high probability that there are strong people at the top of the mid-level galaxy. This is already tricky enough. In addition, we have to include these strong galaxy-level people in the private rooms, which is even trickier. If you are unlucky and encounter some domain lord who is traveling by train, the robbers may be miserable. This also means that such a slow train can travel long distances safely every time, with almost no accidents. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that Mr. Thane's knowledge is so profound and powerful. I think Mr. Thane must also have extraordinary strength. I happen to have some cultivation problems recently. I wonder if I am lucky enough. Can I ask Mr. Thane for advice? If you would like to give me some advice, sir, I would be very grateful. At this time, the suspected galaxy-level strongman under Jia Yan's observation suddenly and unexpectedly asked the old monkey about biological training. Everyone present had communicated for a long time, and then roughly knew who was a strong person, and how strong a strong person was. Even if they could not be determined specifically, everyone still knew it in their hearts. Especially that one. This galaxy-level creature seems to have used a unique method to realize that the old monkey creature is a very powerful being. Even if it is not, given his age, he must be knowledgeable, and he must be able to give advice to others. So he asked for advice. Oh, there is such a way. Jia Yan was on the side, and his heart moved when he heard it. From this point of view, it seems that coming to other private rooms to make friends is not a bad thing. At the same time, Jia Yan also cheered up, listening to the old monkey creature nodding his head, and then another galaxy-level powerhouse in the private room spoke out his own training questions and then answered them. We all don't have a master-disciple relationship, so it's impossible to talk too much, especially on issues that may reveal the shortcomings of one's own cultivation. Even if the strong man still sincerely asks for advice, what he said is, it is also impossible to reveal any fatal shortcomings in oneself, and often the directions of questions are just scratching the surface. The way the question was asked was so secretive that Jia Yan was a little confused, thinking that he would not get any good answers from the old monkey creature. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2238. But the answers given by the old monkey creature were often full of profound meaning. Then the creature seemed to have really heard some excellent answer, and his whole body was shocked, and his heart felt bright. This made Jia Yan feel itchy. After listening for a while, he finally stepped forward and started asking questions. Senior Thane, I also have some questions. I wonder if Senior can answer them for me. He asked tentatively. Although he couldn't understand all the questions asked by the creature just now, he could still tell that Thane, an old creature, hit the nail on the head every time and answered to the satisfaction of the creature's neighbor. Your Excellency Jia Yan, do you also have a problem? Haha, okay, please ask. The old monkey creature was just like his appearance. He was extremely graceful. He was not angry that Jia Yan came to join in the fun and nodded directly in agreement. Jia Yan was so happy that he quickly raised several questions he had thought about. It's like this, Senior Thane, I'm studying some new cultivation plans, which involve positive and antimatter, but I have encountered the problem of incompatibility between the new system and the old system, and this problem is getting more and more serious when it comes to cultivation. The higher you go, the bigger the problem becomes. I wonder if you can give me some inspiration. Jia Yan opened his mouth and asked about it. He is not afraid to say that because the positive and negative systems are not so easy to study, it is one thing to obtain positive and antimatter yourself, and the other is to have the physique to swallow antimatter. Otherwise, even if you give you antimatter, it will be useless. However, this matter would more or less involve the core secret issues of the training system, so he asked more cautiously and did not mention the more profound aspects of combat effectiveness. Oh! He actually found a new way to practice antimatter. This system is not easy. The monkey-like old creature looked at Jia Yan thoughtfully, but then he was not unable to say anything as Jia Yan thought. Instead, after pondering for a while, he continued to answer. Proteus and antimatter are incompatible with each other. If you can really succeed in researching it, then there is no doubt about the explosive power of the system. Depending on the amount of antimatter and the depth of cultivation, if you can cultivate to a certain level, you will create a lot of magic. Terrifying fighting power. Jia Yan was very surprised by what the other party said. Although it was easy to deduce this matter, being able to say it decisively in one sentence showed that this old man was really powerful. It seemed that he had straightened out his thoughts. When the monkey creature spoke his words next, he slowly became more and more profound. Yes, this system is still very great, but if you want to find out the advantages of the system, you have to get a part of the real antimatter. In this way, you can study it properly and get the real antimatter combat effectiveness. The essence of antimatter. It's a pity that it is impossible for ordinary creatures to absorb antimatter. If it can be done, it will be a great gain for cultivating a real antimatter system. Until such a thing cannot be done, I do not recommend it. You go to study this kind of system because it's a thankless job, and generally speaking, you won't gain much. What the old monkey said almost made Jia Yan's hair stand on end. Because what the other party said hit the target right away, saying that in order to study the positive and negative forces, one has to swallow a piece of antimatter. This substance does not need to be too much, because it only needs to be used for reference in the future, or to derive countless things from the past. Jia Yan really followed this progress, otherwise he would not have been able to study the yin and yang Tao without the antimatter tree. Jia Yan thought for a while, and then asked the old monkey for advice based on some things he had imagined. The old monkey answered fluently. He quickly thought of many of Jia Yan's problems and even helped Jia Yan solve several unknown problems. Figure out the key points. Awesome, Senior Thane is indeed a scholar. After hearing what you said, I was enlightened and felt that I had gained a lot. After 3 full days, Jia Yan finally stood up, said goodbye and left. At this time, several other guests had already left. After all, they also saw that both Jia Yan and the host who invited them were discussing Jia Yan's new cultivation method, although they all knew the monkey in front of them. The creature is a person with profound knowledge who can give them a lot of guidance in their cultivation and even life, but there is no other way, they can't rely on it. Moreover, it is easy to encounter such a feeling on Biostar, because strong people are everywhere. As long as you are unwilling to look for them, if you are willing to look for them and pay the price to ask for advice, you can still have a chance. Of course, for Jia Yan, the feeling is different. Because he felt that this monkey creature was different from ordinary strong seniors. With different strengths, his entire outlook on knowledge is also different. It even seems that because of his experience, his outlook on life is also different. But again, Jia Yan had disturbed others for 3 days, and they didn't send him away out of politeness, so he was too embarrassed to stay. So he stood up and said goodbye. Your Excellency Jia Yan, I know you are an ambitious young man, but you have to understand that most of the time passes quietly. Do you still remember the content of the first chat between me and you? You lamented the North Star is unusual, and I also lamented this fact, but in fact after I talked with you, I think that if you pay too much attention to these things, your future may become a wasted life like me, so among them you have to pay attention to how you handle it. Okay, thank you for your guidance, Senior, I will pay attention. Jia Yan said goodbye and left the private room. There are really not many young people like this, but they still want to practice other systems. And from what I can see, this system seems to have a really good feeling, and the future is formidable. I hope it won't be like what I said. In the future, my cultivation will be wasted because of external things. The monkey creature sighed, without paying too much attention to Jia Yan's feelings, and just sat back on the chair. It seemed that to him, no matter how smart Jia Yan was, it was not enough to make him regard him in a new light. The servant dressed in clothes on the side continued to serve him respectfully, without mentioning Jia Yan at all. That's right, there are so many talented young creatures on this northern star, and those with fantastic ideas are like crucian carp crossing the river. Before seeing Jia Yan's unique cultivation system, everything was just a kind of it's just simulation and imagination, and there won't be much in-depth study of the monkey creature. But in the future, if Jia Yan really comes up with the cultivation path of positive and negative power, maybe this creature will be interested in it, but for now, let's forget it. Bang. After returning to his private room and closing the door, Jia Yan also sighed. Awesome, on the 3rd day, I even suspected that this monkey creature had experience in yin-yang Dao practice. I had done so much research on yin-yang Dao, but he actually guessed a small part of it, and then he even targeted some of my yin-yang Dao practices. I carefully considered and imagined some points that I had not noticed, and those last words made my hair stand on end. Jia Yan gained so much. From this encounter alone, he felt that he was on the right track on this long-distance train, because for him, receiving guidance from a powerful creature was absolutely worth it. Even if it takes a while, there is no loss. What's more, there was no loss, just more chatting in the past few days. The advice given by the powerful creature, as well as some of the fantastic ideas he came up with, gave Jia Yan countless inspirations. I don't know what the strength of the senior is. According to me, there is probably a middle-level peak of the galaxy who is close to the Territory Lord, or even, maybe the Territory Lord exists. It is precisely because of such strength, coupled with his age and knowledge. Only by measuring can you have current insights. Jia Yan admires such an old man. An old person in a family is like a treasure, and this is especially true for strong creatures, because the memory of strong creatures is very terrifying. Many powerful creatures have no memory of things that happened when they were young until they are old. Remember, a strong person who has reached the galaxy level can live for a long time, and those who have experienced more have accumulated an unknown amount of knowledge and experience, some of which are even impossible to obtain in books and the internet, so with such when strong people chat and listen to each other's knowledge, that is the ultimate enjoyment. Generally speaking, old creatures like the old monkey creatures will no longer have so much sense of killing in the world, and even the desire to kill will be reduced a lot, because at their age, many times they look at things differently. You insult them, but they just look on calmly, because people who have lived for thousands or even tens of thousands of years may have experienced the same curse at least several times. They will only sigh, but not I will really take it into my heart. Perhaps for a creature like him, no matter how strong the body is, the means of preserving life and the way he views people and things are all different from mine. Jia Yan thought about giving it a try, but felt very creepy. If he lived at this age for more than 100 times, how much would he have experienced in the past few decades? After 100 times of time, I should look down on the world of mortals. So just now Jia Yan felt that the monkey creatures seemed to have seen through it. He had actually researched the yin and yang Dao, but he just didn't break it, because such a creature who likes to guide young and powerful people may not be able to figure it out in a lifetime. I have seen many similar young people, so I am not surprised. Well, I don't want to think about this kind of thing. After all, I am not that old yet. There is no answer to think about things about such a powerful person at this age. Jia Yan restrained his thoughts and entered into the next practice. This unexpected gain on the train gave Jia Yan a lot of inspiration and gave him a lot of general guidance. Although it cannot be said that it gave him a real direction, Jia Yan wanted this kind of thing. Once was not enough. If I come here a few more times in the future, and then seek advice from some strong people, as well as find some information, I may be able to make up for the many shortcomings in my yin and yang Dao. Think about how such an old monkey man can live so easily and peacefully. As a young and strong man, I can't rush. It's better to do what I need to do well and do it slowly. By the way, this senior finally said to me, "Don't waste time." That's right, maybe he also saw that I was a little slack on the North Star. But I just came here not long ago, so the slack is temporary. Take it easy, you can't be in a hurry, you can't say it's wasted, this is a necessary process to accept the knowledge and environment of North Star. You can't just come to North Star and find a place to practice with concentration without knowing anything, right? Jia Yan smiled and continued practicing. Boom boom boom. This train from Gongjuling flew in the sky, crossed the ocean along the way, and even really flew over a large river called the Dark River. Although it was said to be a river, from Jia Yan's perspective, it was completely seeing a sea thousands of kilometers wide made him excited and almost completely shocked. Then, the places we passed along the way, including small cities and big cities, all had many differences and feelings, which was very novel and gave us insights into life. Jia Yan was completely attracted by the endless variety of fresh information and the sense of alternative life that Mosquito had never experienced. Even though the words of the old monkey were still in his ears, he gradually fell into a very different world. In the life of North Star. This kid, haha, but from what he said, it shouldn't have been too long since he came to Biostar. The person involved has to look away from this kind of thing. The monkey-headed creature saw Jia Yan flying outside a car parked in a certain city in his private room and looking at the outside scenery. He suddenly shook his head helplessly. Of course, he shook his head, but he still understood. Just as Jia Yan himself thought, if he, an outsider, could not even get in touch with the unique humanistic style of Biostar, it would not be a good thing for the future. The days go by like this, bit by bit. For half a year, the flights and stops along the way made Jia Yan understand the planet better day by day. Soon after, he slowly began to understand at least this promising planet on the northern giant star. Big area, learned more. After establishing preliminary insights and knowledge points, he was close to his destination. The old monkey creature got off the bus more than a month ago, and before getting off the bus, he called Jia Yan and talked with him again for a day or so. Jia Yan once again got a lot from him. Help. Hello fellow passengers, the last stop of this train, Ice and Snow City, has arrived ahead of us. I wish all passengers a pleasant journey. Along with the conductor's announcement, Jia Yan felt slightly reluctant to leave. The long journey on this train really made him feel a bit reluctant, because he saw a lot in the process and gained a lot for him. The gain was too great. So I didn't want to get off the car. But even if you don't want to get off the bus, you still have to get off the bus, because when you reach your destination, what's the point of returning to the city? Even if you want to take the train again, you'll have to take the train in another direction. A good horse never turns back, right? Huh, here we are. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2239. The so-called Ice and Snow City, just as the name suggests, is completely covered in a large area of ice and snow. And this ice and snow is not just ice and snow. If you use a thermometer to measure it, it will be 30 or 40 degrees below zero. At this point, for the local residents of Ice and Snow City, it is still summer. The surrounding world is completely made of ice, and even the houses are as if they were made of ice. Fortunately, at least the residents did not save on this point. The houses are made tall and large, and most of the biological residents have good living conditions. It's no wonder that although the prosperity of the city is good, the economic activities are not going well. Although ordinary creatures have the strength of strong men, it can be so cold that many people at the earth level and heaven level can't stand it. The economic activities are actually still at a low level. To a large extent, it depends on them, so it is foreseeable that the city's economy will not be prosperous. Jia Yan looked at the scenery outside the station and quickly understood why the city in front of him was rumored to have no economic status despite being a big city. After walking out of the station, Jia Yan followed a wave of people, avoiding the soliciting behavior at the station that invited you to stay at the hotel, boarded a car, and then went straight to the hotel he had already booked online. It is said that the master's power is not good in other places, but in fact, the entire land of the master is still pretty good. I thought that except for the land of peace, other places would be raging with war, but after riding the train for so long, except in some places, it's really not like that. Jia Yan had always misunderstood the place of power of the master. After hearing from the peaceful place that the outside world was in chaos, he really imagined it to be an extremely chaotic situation. But after he came out, he found that the truth was not like that at all. It's right to think about it. When he came down to Biostar, he had generally seen this area. There were no traces of large-scale wars. What's more, it was an area ruled by the master's power. They would really do something. There is peace under the rule, but there is war under a certain rule? Impossible, right? Entering a hotel, Jia Yan opened the public program on his brain out of habit. After all, he wanted to use this program to practice subspace, and then use this program to earn as much commission as possible. No one dislikes having more money, right? What's more, this procedure can be regarded as helping Jia Yan. He has ways to help the other party develop, so he should try his best to help. Hey, there is no open procedure branch here? That's right, it's too far away. The open procedure headquarters is in the peaceful area. It's millions of kilometers away from here. I guess it won't be so easy to develop here. Otherwise the open procedure group would have long ago become a huge group within the power of the controlling family. Jia Yan was a little surprised that there was no public program branch here, but then he didn't think it was anything too normal. Since no one uses the public program, there is no point in opening it. I can only promote it a little bit. No one can see my information, so I can just make it public. Jia Yan looked helplessly at his brain, then opened the subspace and began to deduce the connection points of the subspace. This is something he has to do almost every day. In this short half year, he has had 100 opportunities every day. Over the past few days, he has become more and more proficient in using the subspace. It is estimated that the subspace talent domain master who developed the public program never thought that another subspace talent master would use his public program in this way. In short, Jia Yan is becoming more and more familiar with it, and even in this little half a year, he has roughly understood how this powerful domain master uses nodes and allows public programs to use ordinary intelligence to open up a little subspace. This can be said to be a method that amazed Jia Yan too. It can also be said that although the other party does not know Jia Yan seems to have known this powerful man for a long time. Unfortunately, he still does not even know the other party's name. Buzz. A gap opened in the subspace for an instant, but then the gap slowed down in an instant. After half a year of thinking, with the help of this public program, I have been able to open a subspace channel that can barely accommodate me alone in 3 seconds. However, if I don't use the public program as a guide, it takes about 5 seconds for a passage to open for me to enter alone. Although Jia Yan was generally satisfied with his progress, he was a little dissatisfied. Because the speed at which the space opens this time, not to mention compared with myself outside the starry sky, even compared with any venerable level subspace talented person outside, there will be a huge gap. Jia Yan's goal is to at least compress time to 1 second, because only at this speed, even if he encounters a strong domain lord, he will have a chance to escape into the subspace. Of course, it must be a relatively weak one. Territory lord, after escaping, it is impossible for a territory lord of this strength to catch up with him. After all, it is not so easy for powerful people with other talents to enter the subspace in the North Star. At least low-level domain master creatures will not enter the subspace so easily, and it is even impossible to do so. He can attack creatures in the subspace casually. In other words, as long as Jia Yan can develop the ability to enter the subspace within 1 second, he will have great self-protection ability when facing a low-level domain master creature. With the help of this public program, I have improved very smoothly. In about a year and a half, I will be able to increase the speed of opening the subspace channel to less than 1 second. By then the survivability in the North Star will be greatly improved. Jia Yan used up 70 opening opportunities, and saved the remaining 30 until the day was almost completely over before using them up. Otherwise, if other variables suddenly appeared during the day, wouldn't he be in danger? In fact, what Jia Yan didn't know was that along the way, he had been opening open procedures continuously. After he gradually drifted away, senior officials in the open procedure group had long discovered Jia Yan's behavior. They looked at it. It was amazing. And because during the process of Jia Yan riding the train, although he did not specifically promote anything, he would have the opportunity to introduce public procedures to passers-by or some high-end people along the way, so there were traces of public procedures along the way. Ever since, the Open Procedure Group saw an opportunity for Jia Yan, a strong man, to help them truly expand their influence. After all, under normal circumstances, the mid-level experts in the galaxy would not casually help them promote the program, and using the experts within their own public program group to promote it would not go that far, right? Only Jia Yan, a mid-level star in the galaxy, is promoting it all the way, even if he doesn't seem to be paying much attention, but he is really doing it. This was the final compromise within the open program group, and a certain amount of resources were given, so that Jia Yan could still use the open program smoothly even though he was far away from the branch of the open program group, and even the number of subspace channels was normal. Reason for use. But he himself is not quite sure yet. Hey, is the person I made an appointment with willing to meet with me? Jia Yan used up the number of uses of his subspace talent and quickly stopped practicing. After that, he looked at his brain communication and found a message on it. He arranged his luggage and threw the more important things into the subspace around him. That's right, with his current ability to utilize subspace, he can already use subspace as his own carrying package again. However, it will be slower to open once, and if you are not careful, items dropped in the subspace will be crushed into pieces by the subspace itself. Of course, under normal circumstances, there is no such possibility, because Jia Yan will not relax his control over these items under normal circumstances, unless it is a combat situation, or a sudden accident, etc. He will control the 4 times that situation only occurs when the control over space is reduced. Although it's not that safe, it's better than leaving things in the hotel casually, or it's not safe to carry them with you all the time, right? Jia Yan doesn't want to go out every day and carry his luggage. Although it seems that many powerful people in this North Star do this, he doesn't want to be so troublesome. So since subspace can be used, why not use it? After carrying the supplies, Jia Yan also looked in the mirror and dressed up his giant mosquito appearance. That's right, it's about dressing up. In this North Star, the average strong man will trim his appearance, because everyone's appearance is not that big anymore, and they will pay attention to their appearance and clothing in social situations. Jia Yan was now under the mosquito's head, wearing a bow tie and half-length suit-like clothes, looking very formal. Well, ordinary people on Earth may not appreciate it. But Jia Yan thinks he is quite handsome, and others have praised his magnanimity. Anyway, after packing up properly, he went out. It is summer here in this ice and snow city, but because the terrain here is too high, the temperature is extremely low, the air pressure is also low, and the oxygen content is not high. Many native creatures have evolved into different species due to the characteristics of this place. Creatures that require too much oxygen to survive. Of course, for the strong, these external life-sustaining needs are not so strong. Just like Jia Yan, he does not need to breathe to fly around in the universe. Such a small change in temperature and oxygen does not matter at all. Not a problem. It's because of the cold that the entire ice and snow city is very dazzling. The ice on some buildings has formed a layer of 3 to 4 meters thick and remains there all year round. It seems to refract light and sparkle, creating a whole city. Naturally dazzling appearance. Jingle. Entering a beverage shop made of ice, Jia Yan listened to the bell at the door and then pushed the door open. Your Excellency, here. Then in the shop, a humanoid creature that looked like a white banshee greeted Jia Yan from a distance. This banshee creature is like the snow maiden in ancient legends. She wears a long robe, has a voluptuous figure, and is extremely charming. Of course, for other species of creatures, this is probably nothing. The other party obviously never thought that his appearance would attract a mosquito-looking creature for a moment. But at this moment, he came back to his senses so quickly that the banshee-like creature didn't notice it. Jia Yan sighed, there are really all kinds of creatures in the universe. This snow girl-like creature is so beautiful. If it were placed on the earth and debuted in the name of an earthling, I am afraid that it would become a big star. However, the current people on earth are not so casually deceived. It is said that on the earth, the matter of alien brides has become a popular thing. There are many races of humanoid alien life, but they are not inferior at all to the banshee creature in front of me. Cough, I think too much. Jia Yan thought about so many things at once, so he didn't think much about it at the moment. He just smiled and walked forward to sit down. In fact, the two parties have been in contact for a long time, and even this time can be advanced to when Jia Yan is still on the train. The purpose is simple, Jia Yan wants a portion of the ice energy mine, the specialty mineral of this ice and snow city. Ice energy mine is the specialty of this ice and snow area as mentioned before. It has unique properties. The energy is not easy to be used. Moreover, once it is transported out of the cold area, it will be easily dissipated. If it is used at high using scientific and technological means to transport frozen goods will result in more losses than gains, and the cost is too high. This makes this kind of ice energy mine, which is obviously quite good in energy, become a bit cheap, and there is not much market, so local strong people will use it, or citizens use it for daily energy. This is why, in this city, whether it is the homes of ordinary residents or shopping malls, it is like spring all year round, because there is so much energy that there is no place to use it. The ruling forces in this area even try hard to get the local people to buy local energy, and we are trying to find ways to transport local energy to other areas in the form of electricity or other energy. However, this is not as simple as hundreds or thousands of kilometers on the Earth. An output requires tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands kilometers. North Star is not that peaceful yet, so it will be difficult to accomplish. Look, this is the ice energy mineral catalog we selected according to your requirements. Are you satisfied? If you want to see samples, I can take you to see them today. That white banshee-like creature's slender figure is undoubtedly revealed. After all, for alien creatures, except for those similar to humans, other creatures can't appreciate her figure. Even if she takes off all her clothes, there are still some creatures. I would say, why is this banshee so barbaric and not elegant? Jia Yan, on the other hand, felt a little weird when he saw it, because he could appreciate the appearance of this kind of creature. Ahem, okay, let me take a look. Jia Yan took the catalog and looked through it. After flipping through it, he nodded calmly. In fact, he was neither happy nor unhappy. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2240. I've probably read the documents, and I can go see the samples. If they suit me, I'll buy them. But your group should be ready for the other requirement I mentioned before, right? Jia Yan's first words made the banshee creature look happy. Although she didn't know whether this outside customer who had contacted their company a few months ago had greater purchasing power, but for mining companies like theirs, the recent development has become increasingly difficult. If she can't continue to have good results, she will probably be fired in the future. After all, for the creatures on the northern superstar, because most of them have long lifespans, there is no permanent iron rice bowl. Even the Enterprise cannot be said to have a long-term life. One creature can easily cost several hundred. With a lifespan of several hundred years, so many things will happen. Even a large force may be destroyed, re-established, and then destroyed again in a few hundred years. Then there is no need to talk about enterprises and institutions. Have a longer lifespan? Of course, there must be exceptions, but when ordinary creatures enter a company, they have no idea how long the company can survive. In short, they must do their best to maintain the survival time of the company, otherwise it will not take more than a few decades. It is very difficult to find a job. Please get in the car, our special car is waiting outside. She didn't even know how many minerals Jia Yan would buy, so she invited Jia Yan to take a special car. This service attitude also made Jia Yan very satisfied. But naturally not every customer is so kind. In fact, when Jia Yan arrives, people will also pay a little attention to his wardrobe, strength, purchasing power, etc. Jia Yan had contacted them a few months ago, when they were still far away from the outside world, and it took him so long to come, which showed that he was really sincere. Looking at his strength later, although it is difficult to clearly see the strength of a stranger in the North Star, it is still very easy for a being who is good at observing faces to make a rough distinction. For example, seeing Jia Yan walked in the city without fear at all. You know, the residents knew very well that it was very possible to bump into a galaxy class while walking in a big city. Most weaklings couldn't pretend to be such a magnanimous person, but Jia Yan naturally doing such a nonchalant expression shows that his strength should be pretty good, or that there is a powerful force behind him. In short, the sales staff in Beuxing are also very discerning, and Jia Yan is not bad in terms of appearance and sense of strength, so he gets such treatment. Not long after, Jia Yan was riding in the company's special car, which was a snow-white car that flew into the air. It slowly took off, and then flew for less than 5 minutes before entering a small building. This is our corporate office building. Although this building is relatively small, many companies cannot afford to own such a house in the ice and snow city where land is at a premium. The banshee creature was sitting next to Jia Yan, or her small body was next to Jia Yan. Fortunately, Jia Yan is a mosquito, otherwise even a human body would be seductive. Of course, this does not prevent Jia Yan from admiring her beauty. Yeah, I understand. Housing prices in big cities are definitely high, and the fact that this mining company has such a house represents its strength. The car parked in the parking lot next to the house, and Jia Yan followed the banshee creature out of the car. The wind outside the car was blowing wildly, making everyone shiver. The power of dozens of degrees below zero is no joke, but as a person who flies in the universe all year round, Jia Yan naturally does not want to be surrounded by temperatures equivalent to more than 100 degrees below zero in some cases where he stays for a long time. Too afraid of this kind of temperature. However, the low temperature in the universe is different from the low temperature on the planet, and the radiation background is different, so I won't go into details. Your Excellency Jia Yan, please come and see. That banshee is the salesperson in charge of Jia Yan. Jia Yan hasn't confirmed the purchase yet, so naturally there won't be many people surrounding him. He just followed the banshee creature, watching it twist and turn, leading him to an exhibition hall. Then Jia Yan saw that in this exhibition hall, many types of white stones were sealed using unique methods. Each of these stones is a so-called ice and snow ore. To the outside world, there is only one kind of ice and snow ore, but in fact, there are many types in this land of ice and snow. As expected, they are ice and snow stones. There are so many differences in each type. It seems that I have come to the right place. Jia Yan nodded. He actually wanted to see as many types of ice and snow stones as possible, and he chose this company because the other party said that he would give Jia Yan the largest variety of ice and snow stone samples. Otherwise, this company's single swords would not be better than others. Lo, there is no need for him to choose a relatively expensive one. But looking at it now, there is still a reason to be expensive. Otherwise, if you choose a cheap but adulterated one, people will not know that it is used to devour it. If it is eaten in the stomach, it will be spoiled, and there will be no point in looking for it. You told us that what you want is a high-energy ice and snow stone with certain stimulating properties. I think this kind of ice and snow stone is good. Its code name is 81 Ice and Snow Stone. Its properties are that it has high energy properties and is stimulating. The evaporation time in the outside world is 3 days. If you want something more radical, there is also the 3EDC model. Its characteristic is that it can maintain energy for a short period of time and is extremely irritating. The only problem is that it is highly irritating. According to the outside world, the radiation is relatively strong, so you need to be careful when working. The processing is difficult, and workers are easily affected by radiation. Next, I will introduce you to this quite dangerous model. It is called KDL-332, and its characteristics are super powerful terrorist radiation. Banshee is obviously a very conscientious salesperson. Although she is not a mineral researcher in the company, she has enough knowledge about each mineral, which made Jia Yan nod her head. Because none of the introduction words she spoke were biased or over the top. This was much better than the sales that Jia Yan had known in the past, and it was even more convincing. At least it's not frivolous. Through the Banshee's explanation, Jia Yan also understood why this kind of ice and snow ore is very important and has a large output in the ice and snow city area. What's more, because of the ice and snow ore will naturally be continuously produced, and the application market will become more and more popular. Smaller. First of all, its characteristics mean that it will be difficult to transport, and there are quite a few restrictions on local processing and application. Coupled with the ice and snow conditions here, construction is difficult, and it has become uninterested. Of course, the more important point is that all these ice and snow stones, which appear to be extremely white and have many unique aesthetics, are all stimulating. In other words, they have radiation, which is very important for operating these ice and snow stones. Generally speaking, the creatures are workers. The strength of the workers cannot be too high, which will affect their lifespan and health, etc., and no one is willing to operate it. Therefore, this kind of ice and snow stone that is continuously produced becomes really no one cares. No wonder the price is so cheap. Jia Yan roughly understood the reason after listening to half of it. And after listening to the characteristics of each type of ice and snow stone, he also roughly understood that although these ice and snow stones seem to have many types, generally speaking, to him, there was not much difference in properties, because he was not used to it in the first place. Do some precision processing and operations. He only wants the most fierce among them. Here, tell me its characteristics. Suddenly, Jia Yan interrupted the Banshee creature's words and asked, pointing to an ice and snow stone emitting milky white light in the center of the hall. All the ice and snow stones are covered in a glass cover, not because they are expensive, but because they all radiate, and they don't want to harm the people working here or the guests. But this ice and snow stone with milky white light is not only whiter than others, but it is also shrouded under 2 layers of glass. You must know that the technology of aliens is far more powerful than that of the Earth. Earthlings have no way to deal with radiation. However, even if aliens are on the northern giant star whose technology is not very developed, they can create such a layer of glass to isolate most of the radiation. Still very simple. But this pure white ore is actually used in 2 layers, which shows that it is still very powerful. Jia Yan watched for a while and noticed the seemingly powerful young man, so he asked. Well, Your Excellency Jia Yan, are you actually interested in it? Well, I'll explain it to you, but I guess you won't be very interested. The price is not cheap, but the harm is still great. Besides, there are not many places to utilize it, so I really don't know why this mineral is included in our product catalog. When the Banshee creature heard Jia Yan's words, she paused for a moment, then shook her head and started talking. Jia Yan listened for a while to the characteristics of this ice and snow stone. The giant mosquito's compound eyes are getting brighter and brighter. Jia Yan is not too afraid of radiation. Because no matter what, he is a mid-level peak creature in the galaxy, and he is also an evolved beast. He can digest most of the power entering his body. In the past, he crawled around inside the planet, even in the magma in the center of the planet. He is everywhere. You know, the radiation there is not low at all. Therefore, as long as the radiation is not at an extremely terrifying level, it is not a problem for him. In addition to the extremely terrifying radiation, the energy of this mineral made Jia Yan very satisfied. It is highly stimulating, which shows that it contains a lot of power from the northern giant star, and it has some kind of cold energy. Attributes, so it is a great attraction for Jia Yan, who rarely absorbs similar energy. Very well, I want this kind of ore first. Please give me a price. After the banshee creature was introduced, Jia Yan directly stated his request. Huh? Do you really want it? Didn't you understand what I just said? This kind of ore doesn't have much value at all. The energy it contains is about twice as strong as other ice and snow stones, but that's it. Except for this, everything else is shortcomings. Do you really want it? Well, I definitely want it. Give me some of it first and I'll take a look. If it's suitable, I'll place a larger order. Jia Yan thought about it and realized that he might still need a lot of this mineral. Okay, wait a moment, I'll place an order for you right now. If it's just a sample, it won't take long to get it. Jia Yan didn't deny whether he wanted samples. It would be better if he just took some samples to avoid the trouble of returning the goods if he really didn't like it. In fact, what the Banshee said was correct. Some samples were delivered not long after, which shows that the efficiency of this company is not low. Of course, it is more likely that the efficiency is not great, so the speed is very fast. The minerals Jia Yan received were in several boxes. The boxes contained many pure white minerals, and each one was contained in glass. For Jia Yan's cultivation, a few pills are definitely not enough, but it is enough to take some for inspection. Not long after, Jia Yan got into a special car and flew out of the company. Without much hesitation, he got off the car somewhere. After watching the special car leave, he immediately got into another car. After transferring several times, he went straight to the outside of Ice and Snow City. Shout! Not long after, Jia Yan flew up and entered a landscape of ice and snow. The giant black mosquito stood out among the completely white color, but Jia Yan had nothing to do. After flying dozens of kilometers, Jia Yan found a place where there was no one and plunged into the ice on the ground. Boom boom boom. Not long after, an ice and snow isolated room cut out by the power of brainwaves and feet appeared. It won't be known to anyone here, and there will be no consequences of radiation affecting ordinary creatures. Jia Yan didn't dare to check and use the white minerals in his hands in the city, otherwise there would be some radiation that would affect others, and he might be in violation of the law. Find bookstore. He was not out to protect others, he had never cared about alien creatures. Buzz. Not long after, the first glass box was opened. It really does have energy. Jia Yanfu's eyes flashed with a lot of brilliance. Because this ore does indeed have a lot of energy, reaching the energy level of ordinary star cores in the outside world. It's amazing. This is the highest grade mineral I've seen in the northern superstar. In several places before, even professional energy stones were not of this level. They all reached the level of the energy of the external star core. Jia Yan sighed, just picking it up and feeling it, he knew that he had bought the right ice and snow stone. Radiation. It doesn't exist. He is an evolved beast. Although the radiation of the stone is indeed good, generally speaking, it will have a certain impact on other strong people, but it is not worth mentioning for a strong person who absorbs his power so quickly. Condensate, swallow it and see. Without saying anything, Jia Yan let a stream of liquid surge from his feet. Gurgling gurgling. The liquid gradually climbed onto the pure white mineral stone. Not long after, he suddenly felt a very strange power being absorbed into his body. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2241. Huh? So happy. Jia Yan first felt that his whole body was invaded by a huge force, and then, the energy similar to the star core level gave him an infinite sense of comfort, and then, the unique cold power in that force made him unable to bear it. Trembling all over. This is an icy power that Jia Yan has rarely tried, or in other words, has never tried at all. It is of great benefit to his body. In the past, the high-grade energy used by Jia Yan in the outside world was almost all extracted commercial energy. It has gone through countless mechanical processes and finally turned into a popular commodity of general-purpose energy. It has no special characteristics, but is more suitable for everyone. In addition, the minerals he used in the past were all wild minerals, and most of them were biased towards thermal energy. The most typical one was star core power. Although this power is one of the top energy forms in outer space, it has shortcomings. Except for the different mineral content, almost all of them are extremely hot and relatively monotonous. But the ice and snow stone that Jia Yan is currently swallowing with condensation is different. It is directly the energy form of Jia Yan, which is almost opposite to the power of ice and snow. This is definitely a good thing for Jia Yan, because expanding knowledge and self-understanding is what he is pursuing. To promote the strength of a domain lord, you need a strong person to expand everything in yourself to the maximum limit, so that you can maintain the possibility of promotion. This kind of power of ice and snow may be difficult for others to directly absorb and gain more insights, but for an evolved beast like Jia Yan, it is not impossible. At least he has done it now. The radiation is terrible. Some of my condensation turned into highly toxic substances, and I had to give them up. Jia Yan looked at the condensation in his body, and the useless waste parts were constantly dripping down. These were all the condensation that his body felt was infected, so he gave up on it. It can be seen that even he can't bear this top-level ice and snow power. Fortunately, this is just a bit unbearable. Generally speaking, the benefits are huge. Jia Yan stayed in this ice and snow for 3 days. In these 3 days, he not only absorbed all the top ice and snow minerals he had obtained, but also gained some insights. After all this time wasting, he himself was not in a hurry, but the sales company he was dealing with, that is, the banshee creature, was a little anxious. After all, in her opinion, Jia Yan should be a big customer with purchasing power. When she got samples before, she had used her authority to give a relatively low price. Unfortunately, after waiting for 3 days, Jia Yan didn't come back to place an order, which made her a little disappointed. But waiting is not without reward. At the evening of the 3rd day, this extremely busy salesperson with no new business received the long-awaited call. "Hello, Your Excellency Jia Yan, I wonder what you are today? Are you very interested in that kind of mineral, and then want to buy 1,000 yuan of standard energy in one go? Okay, no problem. Our company can provide it soon. I can give it to you, okay." Hearing Jia Yan's call, this banshee creature was so happy that she almost flew up. You know, she is on the verge of being fired from the company. If she can't find a new job locally, she will have to leave her hometown and go to the hot outside world. To the outside world, native creatures like them living in the ice and snow are almost useless. Hell, she didn't want to leave at all. Just to live, you have no choice but to leave if you don't want to. Of course, after receiving Jia Yan's order, she doesn't have to leave. 1,000 yuan of ultra-high radiation energy mine. Don't underestimate the fact that there are only 1,000 yuan, but these 1,000 yuan are ice and snow mines with higher energy levels and extremely powerful radiation, so the value is still high. More importantly, this kind of ice and snow stone is the most difficult to sell. Although their company has it, it has not been sold for a long time. 1,000 yuan has almost exhausted the inventory, which makes up for the loss of preservation, allowing them to the company has turned a loss into a profit, which is a great achievement. Therefore, not only will she not be dismissed by the company, but she will also be favored by her superiors. All of this was brought about by the big customer Jia Yan. Your Excellency Jia Yan, thank you very much for your order. You have also seen the current situation of our company. Your order has really helped me and the company a lot, thank you very much. When I met the Banshee again the next day, after signing the order, the Banshee creature was very grateful to Jia Yan and told him the difficulties and the whole story. Jia Yan just smiled and nodded. In fact, the price is very reasonable, neither expensive nor inexpensive. Generally speaking, the price is similar to other merchants he checked online, but at least the samples provided by the store are of good quality, and the official products should also be good. Other Jia Yan couldn't believe how bad it would be, so buying theirs was also a good thing for him. I don't know, Mr. Jia Yan, what are you using these high radiation ice and snow mines for? If you can tell us, we can package them for you based on the information. The Banshee creature was very curious about Jia Yan buying so many ice and snow mines with extremely high radiation levels. Because in this land of ice and snow, the biggest role of ice and snow mines is to generate energy, and this energy carries radiation, so it is not easy to borrow. What's more, the one Jia Yan bought is the one with the largest amount of radiation, which is not suitable for ordinary people. For enterprises, it is more difficult and costly to deal with, so she doesn't know what Jia Yan is using it for. Of course, knowing how to use Jia Yan and conveniently packaging it for Jia Yan to use is also one of the real reasons. You don't need to know what I use it for. In short, just follow the packaging method of the previous samples, okay? Jia Yan said calmly. He had no intention of letting others know that he was using this energy to practice. After all, it is a bit shocking to say it. Although there are all kinds of creatures in the North Superstar, there must be creatures that can directly use special energy mines, but being too eye-catching is not what Jia Yan wants. Of course. As soon as the Banshee creature heard Jia Yan's words, she immediately understood that Jia Yan didn't want people to know how she was using it, so she quickly shut up. For this kind of sales, it is very clear that she should not ask the customer's requirements, otherwise the order will be rejected and her career will be over. The delivery between the two parties was extremely efficient for a company. It took less than 3 days to assemble 1,000 ice and snow stones with such radiation, and then deliver them to Jia Yan on a certain day. On hand. In fact, Jia Yan had rented a small house in a suburb of Ice and Snow City in the past few days to store these ice and snow stones. Moreover, this house is a warehouse, and the radiation protection inside has already been done, so there is no need to worry about radiation leakage. Thank you for your patronage. If you have any requests next time, please feel free to come to me. The Banshee creature followed the truck to Jia Yan's rental place, and also gave Jia Yan many instructions on how to deal with so many high radiation ice and snow mines. Otherwise, if such a huge radiation source is here, once it cannot be dealt with, well, not only was Jia Yan unlucky, but his company was also unlucky. Of course, for Biostar, this kind of thing is nothing. Even if there is a problem and there is no one around, at most they can spend some money to hire a professional company to deal with it. After sending away the Banshee and other carriers, Jia Yan did not start practicing directly. Instead, he took a deep breath, then began to open the subspace channel and throw these huge quantities of high radiation ice and snow stones into his side. Within the subspace. This is a challenge for him, because it is very, very difficult to control such a huge amount of cargo. He must keep them from leaving the subspace around him at all times, and he must also take care that they are not affected by the ultra-high pressure in the North Giant. Being crushed in subspace is also an extremely painful thing, but Jia Yan did it without hesitation. My subspace ability has roughly reached this level. After practicing using public procedures for so long, and becoming familiar with the subspace in the North Star, it shouldn't be too difficult to accommodate such a large amount of goods. Jia Yan quickly threw a lot of goods into the subspace, and then with a buzz, the subspace closed again. Huh, I didn't use the public program to help me during this whole process. It was my own ability to open and close, and transport the goods. This is a huge breakthrough for me. Although so far, I still can't open a subspace channel much larger than me alone, but my speed and endurance have made great progress. In the North Star, the speed of progress that had stopped for a long time has accelerated again. More importantly, Jia Yan's other aspects, including knowledge, energy, and personal life perceptions, have all been sublimated. Therefore, for him, the current progress is still extremely huge. Okay, after everything is loaded into the subspace, I can leave if I want, stay if I want, but I won't leave for the time being, and I have to look like I'm making something. In this way, it will be even more complicated. To deceive others. Jia Yan didn't want people to know that he was using ice and snow stones, otherwise some problems would be difficult to explain, so he still had to pretend a little bit. Moreover, he is obsessed with the life of ordinary people in Biostar, or in other words, obsessed with the life of ordinary people within the influence of the Master's family. Not only does he not understand the life in other places, but also the ordinary people within the influence of the Master. Some people don't understand. But this lack of understanding quickly gave Jia Yan a blow. In the first half of the month, the small warehouse that Jia Yan rented was used by him as some kind of retreat. Other creatures around him could be seen every day. This creature who was suspected to be a strong man walked out of the house leisurely. And then bask in the sun despite the severe cold, or say hello to the ordinary people around, looking like a reclusive master. But in the second half of the month, when everyone saw this strong man, he gradually began to speak in simple terms and became less likely to talk to others. Not only him, but also the residents themselves rarely go out. The summer season shouldn't be like this. But the problem is not Jia Yan or the villagers themselves. But it comes from the security situation in the entire ice and snow city. This small village outside the suburbs is not the center of the situation. The biggest problem with the security situation comes from the ice and snow city itself. People from the outside world are invading. During this time, Jia Yan spent a month and has absorbed a large amount of ice-cold energy. This is more terrifying power than an entire star core in the outside world, and such a huge power is it's just a small part of the high-radiation ice and snow mine he purchased. If anyone carefully observes Jia Yan's changes over the past month, he will find that the changes in his ability to swallow ice and snow minerals are reflected in his appearance. The appearance of the giant mosquito without turning on the azure defense is extremely dark. The surface looks like steel, reflecting the luster. But after absorbing the ice and snow minerals for a period of time, his shell turned out to be transparent and white. A slight sense of transparency could be seen on the surface. There was an extraordinary beauty in the entire black color. Compared with the previous black color, much more flashy. However, Jia Yan himself will not pay so much attention, because he knows that most of these changes are only temporary. When he no longer uses the energy of ice and snow stones to practice, he will probably fade back to his original appearance in the future. Besides, he has no time to care about any changes in his appearance recently. Because in the past few days, when he was looking for information and knowledge on the internet after practicing, he saw the so-called invasion from outside. Find the book garden. To the vast power of the Master family, the outer territory is the area outside the power of the Master family. To put it bluntly, it is another huge force attacking the area of the Master's family. The vast area of ice and snow city is full of ice and snow. Due to the extremely bad weather, this area is a natural boundary. The family of the Master controls the side of ice and snow city, and another major force controls the other side. At least in this vast area, the two sides there have been no conflicts in the ice and snow area for hundreds of years. But the situation has changed recently. The other party has a small force and has begun to launch operations in the ice and snow city area. Even 2 days ago, a small team attacked inside the ice and snow city. Although the attack was quickly stopped by the strong men in the city, the enemy's strong team also retreated completely. It was simply a one-sided ice and snow attack. This side of the city was in complete defeat. The whole situation became very tense. Suddenly encountered such a tense situation, what should I do? Leaving would have been the best way, but the problem is that after buying so many ice and snow mines, after going to the outside world, even if they are left in subspace, their energy will be lost. Most of it will dissipate quickly, and the level of radiation will be greatly reduced. This is a big loss to me. Jia Yan's coming to Ice and Snow City to buy ice and snow mines was originally a relatively important part of his plan. Without the nourishment of ice and snow mines, he felt that his understanding of the properties of ice and snow would be very little. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2242. If, when things are going well, we give up on this behavior, escape from Ice and Snow City, and wait until the tense situation is over before coming back again, the loss will be huge, and the time will be difficult to estimate. Once a war breaks out, or there are constant small frictions, it may last for a year, 2 years, or even 10 years and 100 years. Other strong men may be able to wait for such a small amount of time, but Jia, whose total lifetime is not long, may be able to afford it. For Yan, he really couldn't wait that long. Forget it, I'm sure this kind of conflict won't affect me. I'll just be a villager. Will anyone find fault with me? Jia Yan figured it out. The problem is, he thinks no one will blame him, but things often backfire. After Jia Yan reluctantly stayed for half a month, absorbing almost 1/3 of the $1,000 high radiation ice and snow mine, an unharmonious voice sounded outside the secluded rental house. Came. Your Excellency Jia Yan, right? I am from the Master's force. This incident is a major matter on the border of my Master's force. Someone directly related to the Master's family will come to deal with it. This lord spoke to me personally and said that you are left to help her deal with the incident. A creature that looked quite military-like came to Jia Yan's rental house and even brought a dozen strong soldiers-like creatures with him. The people watching all around followed and watched. Although they knew that there was a creature that might be suspected of being a strong person renting in this house, they never knew that this powerful creature was actually related to the army of the Master family. Because of the relationship, everyone stretched their necks and watched the progress of the situation outside. Jia Yan, who was in this house, heard the news about brainwave power, and then his face turned ugly. Someone from the Master family. He thought that he didn't know anyone from the Master family, and the only person he was familiar with was the little Princess Master Sela whom he met more than half a year ago, so the person who came was probably the little devil princess. It was impossible to disobey orders. Jia Yan knew very well that this little princess must have just wanted to play games with him again because of the original incident. He walked out of the house that was converted into a warehouse and went outside the door. As soon as they met, those soldiers-looking creatures saluted Jia Yan. Hello, Your Excellency Jia Yan, did you hear what you just said? I hope you won't make it difficult for us. How did you know I was here? Jia Yan asked calmly. Your Excellency, this is very simple. You have not deliberately hidden your whereabouts. People in the controller family want to know your whereabouts, whether through network positioning or your presence in major surveillance cameras. It's easy to see where you are. The other party's answer made Jia Yan speechless for a while, and he realized that this was indeed the case. We are all in the territory of the family that controls the other person, and if we want to know our whereabouts, it is not just a matter of words. I don't know who that lord is. Can you tell me why this lord wants me to come with you? Jia Yan asked. As a result, the creature that looked like a mantis and wore a soldier's cap on its head. It was a very powerful guy. He coughed and then raised his voice several degrees to simulate the voice of a child. Listen to me, I know that Jia Yan is over there with you. I want to go and play with him. You all keep an eye on Jia Yan, otherwise I will ask you questions. After imitating the little girl's voice, the mantis creature shook its head helplessly. Your Excellency Jia Yan, these are the exact words of that adult. Now do you think she is someone you know? Okay, I know who she is. Jia Yan said in his heart that it was indeed the case, and then shook his head speechlessly. Listening to the little devil's tone, it doesn't sound like he wants to find a fighting creature like himself as a strong man, but it's right to think about it. How powerful the master family is. In the territory of this big master family, even the domain lord, there are many of them. Although from Jia Yan's point of view, there may not be too many fighting type territory lord creatures, the owner is the territory lord. It is not the turn of a strong man like him, who is at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, to have such an external force invade. The head sheds blood. So what if I just play with this little princess? After all, I am on someone else's territory and have barely established a relationship with the strongest force in the entire region. In order to maintain this line of connections, a little time cost is still needed. Well worth the effort. It's just that he is also weird. Why are outside forces invading the ice and snow city area? Why does the master family send a little guy to take care of things? This is so abnormal. In fact, Jia Yan quickly understood the reason for this. Because after following the soldier-like creature into the car, the other party directly explained the reason and resolution of the conflict, and even explained the truth on a larger level. Are you saying that this conflict is just a manifestation of economic contradictions? That's right. If you can't win through trade, you can use war to solve it. However, the two sides also have battlefields in other places. This is the first time I've heard of it. Jia Yan understood that this confrontation was mutual. The other side sent troops to attack the ice and snow city here, and the other side also sent troops to attack the corresponding ice and snow city of the other side, and then both sent some direct family members. High-ranking young people come to control this battle. For the big forces on both sides, this is just a very small friction, so small that even the respective forces will not react much. In other words, it is completely the function of military exercises and training by the respective young direct lineage. No wonder, the master family asked the little Princess Sila to come and deal with this matter. The territory of the master family is so large that it can be said that countless war groups are fighting all the time. Almost every senior member of the master family who has a family is guarding one side. After all, although the master family is the ruler, at the same time, they have to pay a certain price for their rule. Otherwise, in such a huge territory, there will always be people who are dissatisfied with their dominance. Little Sila also did a good job. She nominally ruled her own Princess Ridge. She said she was just playing, but in fact she actually inspected the territory and went back to solve many practical problems. So she was very pragmatic in the entire territory. Of course, according to Jia Yan, the rumors about Kengan psychology are a bit exaggerated. Her Royal Highness, the little princess, will arrive in half a day. Your Excellency, Jia Yan, you can ask us to organize your belongings in the rented house in the military camp. Of course, you can also continue to live in the rented house in the future, but it is not that convenient. I'm afraid the military in Ice and Snow City didn't take Jia Yan's matter too seriously, because Jia Yan was just a playmate of a little princess, and they didn't even regard Jia Yan as a truly reliable combat force. Therefore, they did not ask Jia Yan to live in the military camp. They just led him to a building complex about 1 kilometer away from Ice and Snow City, where the military camp was located. After that, they gave him a choice and asked Jia Yan if he lived in the military camp, or choose to live in a rental house in the future. Of course Jia Yan chose the latter. There were too many restrictions in the military camp. Not long after, Jia Yan and a group of greeters ushered in a flying vehicle that was about 500 meters long and looked like a giant airship. This is the largest flying vehicle that Jia Yan has seen in the entire Northern Star period, and it has a dazzling array of cute pictures on its appearance, as well as a large Master Family emblem. This is obviously the most important flying tool in the Master Family territory. The pattern represents the flying tool belonging to the family of the Master. And the unique and cute pattern represents that this airship tool can only be used by one person, and that is the youngest direct child in the Master's family who has not yet grown up, the little Princess Sela. When the airship landed, groups of various biological soldiers were already waiting in line. Since Jia Yan was the person appointed by the little princess, Jia Yan was also listed at the front of the team waiting. The military song of the army sounded, and everyone was solemn. Not long after, the hatch under the airship opened, and several female creatures got off the airship and spread out the carpet. After that, a familiar little figure jumped out of the airship. Wow, the Ice and Snow City is so beautiful. There are ice cubes everywhere. Bai's eyes are almost blind. Ha 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 ha. The little devil, still dressed like a child, spoke words that only a child would say, and looked innocent. It's just that she is the direct princess of the Master family. No one dares to underestimate her, and no one really thinks that she is an ignorant little brat. Even Jia Yan saw it this way, because based on what Jia Yan had seen and heard in the mining area before, he knew very clearly that this little princess probably didn't understand anything. Although it was true that she liked to have fun, don't kids just love these things? Moreover, not only is her mind not that simple, the bigger problem is that in the previous sneak attack battle, her own arms showed secret skills that can compete with the domain master creatures. To others, this is a terrifying ability that cannot be underestimated. Ever since, not only others will not underestimate her, but Jia Yan will not underestimate her at all. I'm afraid these are also the reasons why the senior leaders of the Master family are willing to let such a child come to the front line. Although she may make wrong judgments, there must be real people around her who have control of the overall situation, such as the fox creature that followed the little princess and walked under the airship. That is the existence of the domain master. Wow, hello Jia Yan, we meet again, come play with me later. The little devil princess quickly saw the presence of Jia Yan among the greeters, and without even paying attention to others, she came to Jia Yan and said hello to Jia Yan. The military personnel around them all looked ugly, but they did not dare to say anything. After all, the status of the two sides was too unequal. For the entire power of the Master, let alone the military personnel of Ice and Snow City, even the entire Ice and Snow, even in the urban area, it is nothing. Lost nails are nothing compared to the existence of a princess. Moreover, the way they looked at Jia Yan was a little different. After all, this was the first person the princess greeted. They originally thought that this guy was just an interesting person the princess had met on the roadside before, but they didn't expect that she was willing to be the first person to greet him. Say hello. Don't think that the little devil is really innocent. In this situation, even if she is really naive, people around her will try to stop her. Besides, the little devil creature is not that innocent in the first place, so he will greet Jia Yan immediately. That must mean something. I have met Her Highness the Princess. Of course I am willing to have fun with Her Highness when I have time. Jia Yan replied respectfully. He himself knew why the princess or the team behind her valued him so much. The reason is too simple. In the last battle to attack the princess, Jia Yan showed the strength of a combat-type mid-level peak creature in the galaxy. You must know that the bird creature that fought with Jia Yan participated in the battle between the two domain lord creatures before fighting Jia Yan. In other words, if the little devils concluded that Jia Yan was a fighting star in the galaxy, as for the peak level creature, this is a powerful person who can participate in the battle of domain masters at a certain level, and the meaning of that is different. The average mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy is of course irrelevant, but it is different for a combat type who is as strong as this. In this ice and snow area, because the population is not too large, there are even fewer strong people. As far as Jia Yan knows, there is a territory lord in the army, there is also a territory lord in city management, and then there are idle territory lord creatures. There were about 3 of them, and they generally would not help in the battle unless the situation really reached a point where they had to take action. This kind of thing would somewhat affect the ruler's family's foundation of rule in this area. This shows that a mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy who can intervene in the battle for domain masters has a very high status. The army that came to greet the little devil princess did not include the military territory lord, nor the city governance territory lord, because under normal circumstances, they had to sit in the center, and it was natural not to come to greet a princess. So among the people present, it was very natural and normal for him to be the first person to talk to Jia Yan. Even if there were 1 or 2 combat-oriented mid-level warriors in the galaxy, they were not familiar with the little devil princess after all. This reflects the close relationship. Even if Jia Yan and the little princess are not that familiar, they want to be the first to speak, so they can't stand in the way, right? Hello, I am Master Sela. Hello, I have met Her Royal Highness the Princess. After speaking to Jia Yan, the little princess started talking to the strong men in the army other than Jia Yan. The next performance became very orthodox and formal. Except that the first person to speak was Jia Yan, she was like a mature high-level child. She was very polite and did not look like she would interact with Jia Yan at all. Yan haha is a little kid having fun. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2243. This is a child from a high-end family. It is a child's nature to say that she is playful as a child, but when it comes to her behavior in certain matters, she will behave differently from ordinary children. This is why she tutor. I've met Senior. Jia Yan arrived in front of the fox creature and greeted him respectfully. Well, Jia Yan, thank you for the last incident. I wonder if you are satisfied with the reward from Her Highness the Princess. I'm very satisfied. I have to thank the Princess and Senior. Perform well this time. If you get any more credit, you will definitely benefit from it. I will do my best. The dialogue between the two parties seemed a bit formulaic. Jia Yan wouldn't say anything about refusing to serve, so he just managed to deal with it at the moment. It didn't take long for the meeting to end. Jia Yan got on the greeter's motorcade, while the little devil princess took a car with the top military officials and headed for the high-end defense mansion where she was staying. Although he was the first person to chat with the little devil, this does not mean that Jia Yan is the real high-level person in this battlefield. After all, he is a complete layman. Even Jia Yan himself understands that participating will not help the war. Since he has not been invited to engage in more high-end things, Jia Yan is happy to have a leisurely life. He does not want to bear more responsibilities. After all, he does not have much sense of belonging to the place where he protects the power of the master's family. I am afraid that the little devil princess and the others also know this, so they will not continue to let Jia Yan enter the higher-end agenda. This is also the case. When Jia Yan returned to Ice and Snow City, he was informed that he could choose to return to the rented house and do his own thing before there was an emergency. Of course, he was willing to accompany him to guard the military camp and the city. Jia Yan naturally returns. When they return to the small village on the outskirts, The villagers in the village immediately whispered when they saw this strong man who was invited by the army but returned intact very quickly. They all understood that this outsider who had lived in their village for a long time must be an important guest that even the army would take seriously. Some people, after watching yesterday's broadcast on Ice and Snow TV, were very sharp-eyed and discovered that Princess Sela, the direct lineage of the Masters family, came to Ice and Snow City because of the recent incident. After getting off the airship, the first person I met seemed to be the foreigner in front of me. For a moment, Jia Yan felt the strange gazes of everyone around him. It was a feeling of fear of the strong, but also respect. It was very different from the feeling he had in the past when he saw the weak looking up to the strong on alien planets. In the North Star, there are too many strong people, so many that unless you are a master among the territory lords, under normal circumstances, even the territory lords can only frighten ordinary people at most. As for the galaxy level, there really aren't many people who are so afraid that they tremble, otherwise they would be shaking from beginning to end every day when they go out on the street. The respect these villagers have for Jia Yan is more due to the fact that even the direct princess of the Master's family is the first to greet him. It can be seen that this outsider's guest is probably either a strong man, a scholar, or a tactician. Masters and the like, and often any of the above, are worthy of true respect. People in the Master's family must respect the existence they treat. It is definitely right for ordinary people to respect it. Well, the feeling of Northern Superstar is really extraordinary. I can understand a little bit of what the old monkey said. But this is only a small corner of the entire Northern Superstar. Such a huge planet is really beyond my ability. As you can imagine, the diversity is probably even more exaggerated than the vast expanse of stars and planets in the outside world put together. Jia Yan knew very well how old Biostar was. After entering his rental place, he sighed, but he did not turn such a little touch into a move for the entire Biostar. As someone who has seen the size of this breath ball at close range in the universe, he knows very well that if he really thinks he has seen the North Star clearly, then he is a real fool. The family that controls such a small piece of territory, it's just a small corner of the North Star, and it's something that Jia Yan can't do. Practice a bit. Jia Yan looked at the large amount of supplies that were sent away and then sent back, and he smiled bitterly, and then did not take out all the ice and snow minerals from the subspace, because under the current situation, there may not be such a comfortable training opportunity. Well, it is better to put these necessary cultivation items in the subspace. Anyway, as long as you do not leave the ice and snow area, these ice and snow minerals will not evaporate easily. It is convenient to bring them for training anytime and anywhere in the subspace. Buzz buzz. Not long after, Jia Yan was exposed to a large amount of radiation and entered a state of cultivation. Boom. I don't know how long it took, but Jia Yan was shocked. Because the sound of the distant explosion spread throughout the entire Earth, the ground shook and shook, making him unable to sit still. This is the battle energy fluctuation of a domain lord level powerhouse? How is it possible? Didn't I say it was just a test? Why is there an enemy domain lord level powerhouse coming? Jia Yan's expression changed drastically. He quickly opened the door of his rental apartment and walked out of the house. At this moment, the entire village was in chaos. Although civil wars in the Northern Superstar are constant, there have been no large-scale wars in the ice and snow region for hundreds of years due to the inconvenient terrain. Battles between domain lords have also not occurred for hundreds of years. At this moment, even the suburban area, which was more than 10 kilometers away from the center of the explosion, began to panic and become chaotic. It's Mr. Jia Yan. Mr. Jia Yan is here. Don't panic. Hurry up to Lord Jia Yan. Lord Jia Yan will give us protection. Sir, what's going on over there? Why are there such terrible fluctuations? After seeing Jia Yan, a group of villagers seemed to have found a backbone, and they rushed to Jia Yan's side one by one. And they were all talking. They may not know much about the situation than Jia Yan, and they seem to be extremely frightened. Don't worry, please give me a moment and I'll communicate with you first. Jia Yan was slightly unhappy for a moment, and used the power of his brainwaves to push away the people around him. After all, he didn't have as good an impression of the alien people as the people on Earth. It was Jia Yan who was able to be friendly to others while hiding here. He has reached his limit. If he gets close to them anymore, he will feel uncomfortable. Giant Mosquito is a solitary and somewhat eccentric person. Perhaps sensing Jia Yan's unhappiness, a group of villagers stopped approaching, but not many people left the vicinity of Jia Yan. They just watched from a distance as Jia Yan returned to the rental house and closed the door. In the rented house, Jia Yan called up the contact information of the little devil's assistant. Zhineo responded quickly. Lord Jia Yan, the situation has changed. Please come to the city quickly to help in the battle. Jia Yan didn't have time to speak. On the other end of the communication, the assistant creature, which was very similar to a little devil, but completely belonged to a big devil. It was said that its ancestor for several generations was also a female demonic creature from the master's family. It started to attack Jia Yan. Requested. The situation has changed. Could it be that a large enemy force attacked? How is that possible? Jia Yan paused, but instead of rushing out of the house and heading to the city immediately, he felt a sense of retreat. I don't know if the assistant understood Jia Yan's meaning, and was extremely anxious to directly dismiss Jia Yan's idea. It's not a large force coming, but it's not much better. It's an elite small force of enemy strong men. There are about 1,000 people in total. More than half of them are galaxy-level strong men. Lord Sela happened to be in the city with a few strong men. People from a local big family met, and the military personnel were intercepted. Even the domain lords on our side were intercepted by corresponding strong men. Lord Sela needs your strength by her side. Please also ask Lord Jia Yan to take action. There will be something to do afterwards. Report. Jia Yan did not reply immediately, but his mind was racing, thinking about something. He would not believe everything this assistant said, not to mention that what she said was correct, so there were thousands of enemy troops, half of them galaxy level. Damn, Jia Yan has never imagined this scene. The galaxy level is in the starry sky, and it is definitely the strongest among the strong. Everyone has narrowly escaped death and experienced great battles before they can grow to the galaxy level. But in this North Star, the members of an elite force are said to form a galaxy-level team of 500 people. This is simply beyond Jia Yan's imagination. And let yourself deal with such strong men. Forget it, it's scary just thinking about it. Jia Yan was about to say something, but a huge voice sounded beside the assistant. Bang! The shadow of a creature slammed into the foundation of the building, causing it to become bloody and bloody. Jia Yan. If you don't come, I will go over to your side. By the way, it seems that some strong people have already passed over to your side, because they have already mastered the number of strong people on our side. Just wait a moment, and I will go meet you, ha ha ha. The little devil's milky voice was full of boldness, and she actually lifted the figure that was smashed to pieces by her, and threw it fiercely, hitting the body of another enemy who was about to attack. The screen was cut off as a bloody mist bloomed and the assistant screamed. It's so fierce, no. She said there are enemy troops coming to my side? Damn. Let's go, I know it's not good for this little devil to be the first to greet me. Jia Yan immediately thought that the little devil had gotten off the boat and asked him to greet him first, so he might have predicted the situation. Would the other party not take a mysterious person who is so valued by the master's family? Thinking with your toes, you know that they will take it seriously. So when they attack, wouldn't it be stupid not to eliminate Jia Yan first when he is not reunited with the little devil princess and the military? Jia Yan stood up quickly, and was so anxious that he didn't even open the door and bumped towards the top of the house. Boom! Master Jia Yan is out. Ah! Why do you want to break down the house? My house, Mr. Jia Yan, before you rented my house, you said you would not cause damage. We have you, the warehouse left by my grandfather, bought, as a last memory, you must compensate. Bang! Before the onlookers, the landlord who rented the house to Jia Yan, could cry and cry out. The villagers saw an extremely terrifying force in the sky, tearing the sky apart and making the entire ice and snow land completely white. Then this light created a vast white scene and bombarded directly on the house that Jia Yan had just crashed into. Then a big explosion occurred, and the landlord no longer had to stay for his grandfather. A big hole was knocked out of the historic rental warehouse and he cried in mourning. Because the house immediately fell apart and turned into a pile of ruins and broken walls. There were even 1 or 2 villagers who were scratched and scarred by the broken objects caused by the explosion. What a strong man, he is indeed a vigilant fighting creature. Suffer death. The visitors discovered that Jia Yan had crashed out of the house just before they attacked, and their words were full of surprise. However, they did not stop at all, but missed 1 blow and struck again with the second blow. This is a team of 5 people. Moreover, each of the 5 powerful men exudes astonishing fluctuations. Although it is difficult to see how strong a powerful man is inside the North Star, they can already roughly judge it when they take action. And when the house was blown up, Jia Yan also roughly knew the strength level of these guys. Damn, all 5 of them are at the top of the intermediate galaxy. You think too highly of me. Jia Yan's face turned ugly. In this North Star, when he first came down, he felt that he might not even be able to defeat a mid-level peak powerhouse of the same level. Unexpectedly, when he came this time, 5 existences of the same level as himself came. It must be these intruders who think that I am a fighting type intermediary peak of the galaxy. They have even thought that I am a fighting type through a unique intelligence system. Then among these 5 powerful people, find a book. Are there any fighting types in UN? Or are they all fighting types? The face of Jia Yan's giant mosquito was quite ugly. Of course, because it was a mosquito, it was not ugly or not. No one could tell whether it was ugly or not. Anyway, he was depressed. It seems that my fighting ability was misunderstood by the master family, which seems to be not a good thing. Now I casually accepted the invitation of the master family and prepared to make soy sauce here. I didn't expect that I would attract such a terrible enemy. If these 5 powerful men were all fighting beings at the top of the mid-level galaxy, it could be said to be a fatal disaster. I can only bet. They are not all fighting types. Jia Yan was filled with anger and resentment, and now he had no choice but to gamble. There are too few fighting type mid-level peak existences in the galaxy. The mysterious team that participated in the sneak attack to assassinate the little devil princess last time has only a part of the existence that is fighting type. The ordinary siege component creatures are still ordinary. The peak of the middle-level galaxy, at least the combat effectiveness is a bit lower. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2244. Now, if this incoming force has 500 galaxy-level existences as the little devil's assistant said, then even if the fighting types among them can form a few 5-person teams, they are willing to do it for themselves. Did such an insignificant person send one of them? Just think about it and you know it's impossible. Even if the team sent to Jia Yan is a team with good combat effectiveness, it cannot be composed purely of combat-type creatures, because Jia Yan is irrelevant in the first place, right? Groan. The giant mosquito turned into a ball of brilliance and cut through the sky, breaking through hundreds of meters away in an instant. Everything in the North Star was slowed down, Jia Yan's speed became slower, but so did others, so this performance was very shocking. As expected. This guy is very strong, be careful, and surround him. Use the tactics used against strong players in training, form a group of 5, advance 3, and defend 2. The faces of the 5 powerful men became solemn for a while, and they followed him forward as if they were flying. They didn't care about the villagers behind them. As for the war between forces, ordinary people do not care about it, and they will not want to end their lives, because generally speaking, the people in the North Star do not have too much concern for the leader of their own force. They have a sense of belonging, and each being's lifespan is long enough, so their character is generally more rational. To put it bluntly, they don't have any feeling of being trustworthy. Of course, there are exceptions, but they are relatively rare. At least in this ice and snow area, where the sky is high and the Emperor is far away, it is impossible for someone to identify with the Master's family. As long as this place is captured, perhaps tomorrow's city residents will live their lives as they were in the past, regardless of whether there are changes in the management from above. But it depends on the situation. For example, if someone kills too many people, and someone wants to destroy the interests of the current people, then there will be resistance. Everyone. If you let me go, I will no longer care about Ice and Snow City. Jia Yan was flying ahead. Len Buting turned around to send a message. Humph, do you think we will believe it? Well. Jia Yan just wanted to use words to end this crisis, but the reply from behind made him helpless. It was obviously impossible for these powerful men to believe what he said. So, Jia Yan had no choice but to run away quickly. If he didn't run away, he would probably be caught up by the 5 people. Whether he won or not was another matter. He just said that no matter he won or lost, he would be scarred. Moreover, Jia Yan was not flying towards the vast expanse of ice and snow outside the city. He was heading towards the interior of Ice and Snow City. Because he was flying outwards, he was absolutely helpless. He couldn't fight against the 5 peak mid-level stars of the galaxy. Not to mention fighting the strong ones in the North Star, he was only fighting against the top 5 mid-level stars on the outer planet. Even if a strong person fights, it is unlikely that he will win. So instead of flying out, it is better to fly directly to the center of the conflict, run to meet the little devil princess, and then find a way to use the chaos during the battle to get rid of this crisis. But Jia Yan didn't know whether the little princess was also facing a big crisis. There is no other way. He actually did the opposite and wanted to run to the city. Although most of the people in the city don't have much sense of resistance to us, there are still some. If he takes advantage of the help of the people who help him, he will probably escape quickly. Such a strong man may be against this attack. War plays a certain role, don't let him go. The 5 powerful men behind them saw Jia Yan going around and entering the city, which strengthened their belief that Jia Yan wanted to help the little devil princess. This war can be said to be a large-scale gamble in the ice and snow area of their power. If the bet is successful, not only will they be able to swallow up the ice and snow area in one fell swoop, but they will also be more likely to capture the little princess who controls the power. If so much work is completed, their operation this time can be described as a great success. Of course, this is just the beginning. Their surprise attack this time did not even get the support of the master of the force corresponding to the master's family. But as long as their action is successful, the master's family will have to agree with them. Behavior, and then let the leader of this surprise army become a higher status. For the long-cherished wish of our leader, we cannot let this Jia Yan go. Jia Yan was flying in front, and he felt that the group of lunatics behind him were biting him and not letting go. His whole body felt bad. Are you crazy? I said it doesn't matter if I don't have much to do with the master's family. It seems that I was really stupid before accepting this mission. Jia Yan felt a little regretful for casually agreeing to the master's family's request, but now he was in trouble. No one could have imagined that the situation that was promised to be stable before has now become unstable. In a place where there has been no war for hundreds of years, it is even more speechless to start a war at any time. Boom. When Jia Yan felt that he was a little unlucky, but fortunately, the flying speed was a little faster than the one behind him, there were large battle scenes unfolding in front of him in the large city blocks in front of him. Ice and Snow City is a big city with a lot of infrastructure, but in front of strong men, these infrastructures are like scum. Every strong man's attack will cause huge damage. Moreover, it is not only the strong men who are fighting on both sides who are destroyed, but some strong men who are usually hidden in the crowd, like ordinary people, who usually abide by the law. In this case, they will fan the flames and carry out the war. The existence of burning, killing and looting. As a result, the city became even more chaotic. Haha, there is a person running around over there. You must have money, hand it over. When Jia Yan broke into an area where he had just fought, more than a dozen creatures, probably like gangsters in the city, surrounded Jia Yan's path. They also believed that Jia Yan was a creature that was frightened by the chaos of the city and flew around. Boss, this guy flies so fast, doesn't he? Not good. Among the dozen or so creatures, not even one has reached the galaxy level, or in other words, not even the star level, otherwise they would not be reduced to becoming gangsters. So seeing Jia Yan's extremely fast speed, they immediately understood that they were its hard time. With their expressions changing drastically, each of them hurriedly stepped back. Only the guy like the boss was hit in the head by Jia Yan. Puff. This guy's body didn't even have the slightest ability to resist, and was directly smashed into pieces, with bloody flesh and blood. Boom. At the same time, Jia Yan looked at the corpses of ordinary people around him. It must have been caused by these guys, so he didn't feel embarrassed. With the power of his brainwave, he picked up more than a dozen guys and blocked the road. Mouth. Damn it, as a person who controls the power, you actually want to kill your own people. You are extremely vicious. The pursuers behind him were almost connected with Jia Yan. At this time, they were blocked by these dozen figures. Each one was furious and killed a dozen figures with a bang, but they were blocked for a moment. I said that I am not a person of the Master's power, but I have interacted with the Master's power before. It's too unreasonable for you to wait. Jia Yan was also a little angry. This means that he knows that his strength is not enough. If he had been stronger, he might have been killed. But there is still a chance. As long as he joins up with the Little Devil's team, no matter how bad he is, he can still take advantage of the chaos and kill these 5 people. Of course, if the situation on the Little Devil's side is worse than his own, then he won't join in the fun. Asking for trouble, instead using his speed to his advantage to yo-yo. It's impossible to be worse than me. You know, she is a direct descendant of the Master's family. If something goes wrong so easily, she is no longer a master. Jia Yan trusts the Little Devil Princess more than himself. This is not a blind thing, but a firm belief after understanding the so-called master. Because compared with all the existences Jia Yan knows, including himself, the person who controls the power of the family is called the real combat strongman. Since the creatures of a family took control of this area thousands of years ago, they have not so much controlled this area as they have protected this area. The direct lineage strongmen of each family started fighting as soon as they were born, beating the sky, the earth, and the air until death. The Little Devil Princess Sela, even though she is only in her 30s or 40s, she has experienced dozens of battles, large and small. Only last time, with her brainwave power, which existed at the peak of the mid-level galaxy, she was actually able to fight the Territory Lord with terrifying abilities. It was even said that the descendants of the Master's family had more secret combat abilities, but she didn't know. It just depends on whether Sela has mastered it or not. If talking about other strong men, there are distinctions between normal type and combat type. then the strong ones in the family of masters are the fighting type among the fighting types. Therefore, if she died so easily, she would not be a true master family. Coming. Jia Yan was naturally flying at full speed, so he quickly approached the location of the little Princess Sela shown on the map. In that building. In the distance, he spotted a crumbling building with green smoke coming out. A large amount of battle smoke was flying inside, and then large swaths of ordinary creatures were either flying or running on the ground to escape. Building is located. Keenly, Jia Yan sensed where the battle was taking place. In fact, there is no need to sense which floor the battle is loudest and the fire is the hottest, that's right there. Puff. Jia Yan ran headlong into the building. This is the 150th floor. The entire space inside was smashed to pieces, and several floors were burned. Fortunately, this building was made with interstellar technology, otherwise it would have collapsed long ago. Bang! At this moment, several powerful men were joining forces to besiege a small figure. There were several other battle groups beside this little figure, but there were also many dead, most of whom were followers who traveled with the little figure. And this little figure is Sela herself in the form of a little devil. You bad guys, you are so angry with me. You came to attack me when Master Fox was not around. You are not a good person when you take advantage of others' danger. Haha, little Princess Sela, we are enemies to begin with. To be bad to the enemy is to be good to our own people. Don't blame us. Among the biological experts who besieged Sela, there was one who looked very scary, a fighting type mid-level peak existence in the galaxy. He had 7 slaps, and every time he slapped them, the little princess would fly backwards. He looked very embarrassed. Just when the little devil was in a panic, a flying figure suddenly hit the wall outside the building. Boom boom boom. One of the strong men standing next to the wall had no time to react. He was stabbed hard by the shadow with his toes and penetrated into his organs. As a strong person, even if they are injured like this, they can still survive because of their tenacious vitality. After all, everyone present is a being of galaxy level or above, and this one is no exception. But the problem is that the figure who stabbed this strong man found out that he had stabbed a creature. After carefully looking at some of his characteristics, he realized that it was an enemy, so he was not merciful at all and killed him in one breath. The power of his own brain waves suddenly poured into the body of this strong man. Bang! The strong man's body exploded and turned into a mass of flesh and blood. A majestic star-level warrior died in just one move. The way the newcomer appeared was too shocking, so in an instant, most of the creatures in the entire battlefield looked at him. Jia Yan? You're actually here to help me. That's great. Come here quickly. As soon as the little devil princess saw the figure of the visitor, she suddenly became very happy. Humph, this guy is Jia Yan. Didn't he arrange a few people to hunt him down? Why did he let him cause trouble? The enemy's strong men, all looked ugly. Behind Jia Yan, the figures of the 5 powerful men arrived one after another, and their faces were also extremely ugly. We went over and besieged him. The 5 powerful men hurriedly stepped forward together. You guys help me deal with these guys, and I'll go help the little princess. Jia Yan didn't even look back, and shouted loudly to a few familiar members of the little devil guards in the battle group beside him, then avoided the encirclement of the 5 people and rushed towards Sela's location. He is very calculating. The battle situation with the little devil princess seems to be more intense and difficult than anywhere else, but the problem is, that is little Princess Sela. Just seeing that she was surrounded by more than 10 or 20 strong men and yet she was not injured until now, you know that her fighting ability is extraordinary. Moreover, I am afraid that she has not fully used the backup skills of the master family. Not to mention anything else, on the battlefield where she helped her fight before, she used her right hand that was enough to compete with an ordinary domain lord, but she didn't use it. Therefore, instead of fighting in other battle circles, it is better to fight next to Scylla. This way, there may be a guarantee of safety. Get away from the princess. Jia Yan rushed into the battle circle that was besieging Scylla, aimed at a creature that had just besieged the little devil and seemed to be injured, and stabbed it with one foot. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2245. While stabbing, his feet suddenly burst into blue light, and then they struck each other fiercely. When? Puff. The speed that was originally not that fast suddenly became twice as fast. The injured creature must have reached the peak of the mid-level galaxy. If he had been prepared, he might not have too many problems in blocking Jia Yan's blow, but the problem is that he was not prepared, and even suffered some injuries when he besieged the Master Scylla before. These injuries will not have any impact if he assists in the siege, but it will not work if he is asked to deal with a strong man, and a strong man whose speed is inexplicably doubled in an instant. Pi. The strong man's whole body shook. Jia Yan's sharp feet, which bloomed with azure radiance, used the mutual repulsion speed of yin and yang Dao's positive and negative forces to slash across his neck. Then, as if he had never done anything, he rushed into the battle lightly. Inside the circle. When Jia Yan rushed to the little devil's side, the injured strong man froze. Then, the neck and body separated. Wow! Large swaths of blood spurted all over the ground. The attackers all around were simply frightened. Don't think that strong people will not make misjudgments. At least for battles between beings of the same level, the probability of misjudgment is very high. They all believed that Jia Yan was truly capable of killing the creature that blocked him in one move. You must know that everyone is at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, and this blocker is also a combat-type creature. A combat-type creature, he was killed so easily. Jia Yan, you did a good job. The little devil princess felt that her pressure was greatly reduced after receiving such a strong support, and she was immediately elated. Okay. Jia Yan didn't expect that guy to die so quickly. After giving a wry smile, facing the looks of all the creatures around him, there was only one sentence he wanted to blurt out. I'm actually not that powerful. Can you let me go now? I'm afraid it's more difficult to leave after killing a guy whose enemy is not a minor player, because of the hatred. Jia Yan felt so regretful that he wanted to crawl into the ground. He was just a casual person, but now he unexpectedly became the center of attention. The 5-person team chasing Jia Yan was even more shocked at this time, because Jia Yan could kill a combat-type creature. There was only one combat-type existence in their 5-person team, and Jia Yan had the ability to kill a fighting type, and he looked so relaxed. If he hadn't come to the city to rescue the little princess of the master family, wouldn't he have turned around to fight with them, and might have won? Terrible. In the entire audience, everyone admired Jia Yan's strength. Only Jia Yan himself wanted to cry. I used to be looked down upon by others, but now I am pretending to be a master, so much that I almost believe it. What should I do now? When the fight started, the secret was revealed immediately. Jia Yan smiled bitterly. Get close to the little devil princess. Of course, they say they are close together, but from the perspective of others, he is a 3-meter-long monster protecting a little devil the size of a human child by his side, which is completely a sign of loyalty. Jia Yan. The little devil princess was almost moved. Princess, my strength is not as strong as they think. If we fight again soon, you have to work harder, otherwise we will all be in danger. Jia Yan said this. In fact, of course he knew that even if he was in danger, the little princess could not be in danger. She had that powerful right-hand fighting power, plus other methods of the master family, and I am afraid that the overall fighting power is not as good as the authentic domain lord, but it is about the same. The reason for such a call is to make the little devil princess feel that she is more loyal. If Jia Yan is in a desperate situation later, she will use her hidden power to help him. Hurry up, there is such a strong person, it will not affect the overall situation. Suddenly, one of the group of creatures over there roared like this. Okay, do it. In an instant, more than a dozen strong men besieging the little devil princess gathered together again. Jia Yan looked at the group of guys in front of him with a sinister expression on his face, then looked at the little devil princess behind him who seemed to be protected by him, and then gave a wry smile. He couldn't do it directly, because it would be a bit difficult for him to hit one, and he might not be able to defeat it. The guy he killed just now was obviously an injured person. If you think about it carefully, you can remember it. Jia Yan did not belittle himself, nor did he think highly of himself. The first thing he recognized in the North Star was that his fighting ability was probably not too strong at all. Being assigned to the fighting type is the result of his recent hard work. And there is a question mark as to whether this combat type creature qualifies. In other words, if he really fought with a more experienced fighting type mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy, he would probably die. The problem is, no one really believes him now. Originally I didn't want to use all my life-saving methods in the North Star so quickly, but now, I can only use them. The Master family, you have to compensate me well afterwards. Jia Yan sighed softly. In fact, although he knew very well in his heart that he was not a true fighting type, but after he used several of his powerful methods, there was a question mark whether it was still the case or not. Even he himself didn't understand what level he would be if he used another method. And what is this method? Too simple, obvious answer. Anyone who knows Jia Yan's past battles will know the answer. That's right, it's his explosives and counter-explosives. The last time he encountered a battle that attacked the little devil princess in the wilderness, Jia Yan did not flee in panic immediately. In fact, it was because at that time, he had already prepared some positive and negative explosives made of minerals. It's just that the material of the front and rear explosives at that time was not good, so the explosion effect should not be strong. Even if Jia Yan used it, it probably wouldn't have much killing effect. At most, it would only give him an extra escape route. But it's different. Jia Yan is extremely concerned about his own safety. And with the guidance of the monkey-like old man on the train, Jia Yan has been thinking about improving the relationship between explosives and positive and negative forces. Ever since, he just arrived in the Ice and Snow City and purchased a large amount of ice and snow ore with super high energy that is close to the outside world's star core level. Moreover, the ice and snow ore is the highest level with extremely terrifying radiation energy. So it is logical that Jia Yan will use that kind of ice and snow ore, developed and created. The final result of research and development is a series of ultra-high compression, super explosive energy front and back ice and snow bombs similar to hand grenades. This guy didn't react? It's just as I expected, he's just a wax head with a silver gun. Kill. Die. The two fastest creatures were the first to rush in front of Jia Yan. One of them had long suspected that Jia Yan's combat power was disguised. Now when he saw that Jia Yan showed no signs of hiding, his eyes suddenly turned fierce. Flash, thinking he guessed it right. But he never expected that Jia Yan would take out something white and transparent from under his wings with his middle foot. Ice and snow ore? Under such circumstances, what do you want to do with the ore? Ha ha ha, are you showing off your brain? Sure enough, alien visitors in our northern star have brain problems, ha ha ha. When the two powerful men saw Jia Yan taking out a clear ice and snow stone, they were slightly startled at first, and then laughed disdainfully. One of them used a blade and slashed at Jia Yan's head with one blow, while the other seemed to attack with a hammer. The hammer was half as big as Jia Yan's body. When it came down with one hammer, it felt like a terrible storm was coming. Momentum. Boom boom boom. The sound of attacks made by both sides almost made the surrounding air condense. You must know that this is the air in the North Star, which is extremely tough. They can even react to this air, which shows how terrifying the power of these two attacks is. Although most of the strong men attacking from all sides were aiming at the little devil princess, they also understood that the people from the master family were not so easy to kill. The purpose of this attack was to test Jia Yan's ability. How strong is it? Then let's see if there is a chance, we will kill Jia Yan in one go. So their eyes have always been on Jia Yan. Seeing that he didn't seem to react, but took out a snow and ice stone, everyone paused slightly, and then showed disdain. Who doesn't know the ice and snow stone that lives in this area? In other words, they can even tell that this is a relatively high-level radiation type ice and snow stone. But the problem is that this kind of ice and snow stone is not effective against ordinary creatures, have a great impact, but they have little impact on powerful people above the venerable level. Is there any use in taking out the ice and snow stone in such a dangerous situation? Just like that, with everyone watching in shock, Jia Yan smiled ferociously, and suddenly threw the ice and snow stone in his hand towards the direction where the two powerful men in front of him were attacking. Huh! Give me! Burst! Jia Yan roared angrily and controlled the power of his brain waves at the same time, causing the positive and negative forces in the ice and snow stone to collide with each other. Moreover, the direction of the explosion was directly towards the attack route of the two powerful men. The impact on their side was extremely severe. Small. This is Jia Yan's specialty, how could he go wrong? Boom 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 boom. For a moment, everyone felt frightened, and then a creepy sense of crisis arose spontaneously. Then, there was a loud explosion that directly swallowed up a large area of the building. The two incoming strong men were swallowed directly by this terrifying explosion and screamed in an instant. Ah! How is it possible? What kind of ice and snow stone is this? How could it explode? Not only the two powerful combatants who were affected by the explosion, but also everyone around the battlefield, including members of the Master's family, had countless question marks in their minds at this moment. Because they have no idea what is going on. It's just a snow and ice stone, everyone knows it, but why is it that other people's ice and snow stones are just useless energy substances, but in Jia Yan's hands, they are explosives that can explode with such terrifying power? Can even the combat-type creatures at the top of the mid-level galaxy explode like this? Isn't that ice and snow or any more, but some kind of substance they don't recognize? Everyone was shouting in their hearts, what the hell is this thing? Jia Yan himself almost screamed in his heart. What the hell? This is the most powerful positive and negative explosive I have ever made. The two powerful men in front of me can actually endure such a situation. Fighting creatures are too strong. He was frightened. Jia Yan's positive and negative explosives have always been feared by others. At least in the eyes of strong men of the same level, they are no different from deadly weapons. But when placed in front of the fighting-type peers in the North Star, the explosion hit the center, only to find that these two powerful men had been holding on for a long time. When the power of the explosion subsided, the two powerful men staggered back. Their weapons were blown away and people were seriously injured, but no one died. After staggering for a few steps, the two powerful men fell to the ground. Although they were not dead, they were really without fighting power. This. What a terrifying explosion. What on earth is this? Do we still have such a weapon in the North Star? Is it the latest research and development of the Master family? Impossible. If there is such explosive power in the northern giant star, if it is placed in the outer starry sky, wouldn't even an asteroid be blown to pieces? The onlookers looked at the positive and negative explosives thrown by Jia Yan as if they had seen something extraordinary. Oh, it was no longer just a likeness, but I saw something extraordinary. After all, for ordinary creatures, such explosives are really unheard of. Only the top families can master this kind of stuff. Of course, when really compared with families with domain lords, especially those with masters, they have artifacts that made the little devil princess even have domain lord level combat power for a short period of time. Jia Yan's positive and negative explosives, naturally they cannot be compared. But the problem is that Jia Yan's research and development is also extremely terrible. The biggest advantage is that these explosives will improve as Jia Yan's strength increases, and they can be produced early and can be stored for future use without wasting the combat energy at that time. Those who fight Jia Yan will find that if Jia Yan throws a large number of positive and negative explosives, his energy will still be intact after half a day. Even nuclear energy weapons don't have such terrifying power. What the hell is this? For a moment, the strong men who had just approached Jia Yan took a step back one by one. Especially when they saw that Jia Yan slowly took out another similar ice and snow ore from under his wings, their expressions changed greatly, and they immediately did not dare to move anymore, and they did not dare to even approach Jia Yan. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2246. After all, this thing is too terrifying. You can't even dodge it when it is thrown. Moreover, it explodes at a fixed point. It explodes in the direction you want it to explode. It is surprisingly powerful. Another point is that Jia Yan doesn't seem to have consumed too much energy. God knows how many more he has. One of them blew up the two top mid-level combat-type galactic experts who were similar to them and couldn't move. What about two more? If you throw two of them over, wouldn't it mean that any combat-type mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy would die as hard as possible? Although in theory, everyone has a way to avoid this projectile thing, because Jia Yan's projectile speed does not seem to be that fast, but Jia Yan can also speed up, so no one dares to try. Wow, Jia Yan, what are you doing? You're so awesome. Behind Jia Yan, the little devil princess Sila, who was just about to meet the enemy, had her eyes widened. She could usually only see similar things in the warehouse of the master family behind her, or in the R/U0026D department. She never expected that there would be such interesting things in the hands of ordinary strong people in the outside world. Princess, thank you. This is just a gadget. Come on, let's go. Jia Yan took out two more ice and snow stones. With these two ice and snow stones in hand, strong men would have to get out of the way wherever they went. The white and transparent small ore was usually something they would look down upon, but now, such an inconspicuous ice and snow stone has become a terrifying existence that they dare not touch. Okay, let's go, he, a bunch of bad guys, watch me go back and lead the army to destroy you right away. We can't let them go, stop them quickly. At this moment, the enemy territory lord, who was fighting against the fox-like territory lord from the ground to the sky, and then back to the ground from the sky, roared with an extremely ugly face. This sound woke up all the enemy soldiers present. Yes, they came to the battlefield. There was nothing to be afraid of on the battlefield. The territory lord of their power was the warlord. If they went too far, they would be killed. Go to hell. A fighting creature at the top of the mid-level galaxy jumped out again. But what he received was another white and transparent particle. No one regards this thing as an ice and snow stone anymore, but something similar to an ice and snow stone. It is still the kind of top-level item that can kill the mid-level pinnacle combat-type creatures in the galaxy. Flash. He looked ugly and quickly gave up this attack, trying to dodge. His speed is indeed fast. He must be the first one to rush forward as an attacker, and he is not just doing this in vain. Therefore, Jia Yan could not aim at him, and the ice and snow ore emitting a faint white light quickly passed through his body. After that, everyone was very happy, thinking that they had found the weakness of Jia Yan's attack object. When the ice and snow stones flew out, Bai Bai was blown into the air. Buzz. A slight vibration of brainwave power was transmitted from the inside of this ice and snow stone with positive and negative power. Then, when it was supposed to explode, it didn't explode at all. Instead, it flew back to Jia Yan with a sudden sound, like an obedient puppy. Hum hum. Is my magic weapon still disobedient? Jia Yan sneered and used his midfoot to collect the exploding ice and snow stone with positive and negative power again, and then looked coldly at the mid-level peak combat powerhouse in the galaxy who seemed to be running away. And all the strong men who had just gathered around seemed to have been hit by the immobilization technique. There was only one cry in their hearts, and they didn't know whether to say it or not. Everyone thinks that these white stone explosives are terrible because of their explosive power, so just avoid it and project speed. But now I see that this thing can still be recycled. How to fight? The Jia Yan in front of me was indeed the first person who got off the plane to express condolences to the little princess of the master family that day. Her own strength must be good. The most powerful thing is that she has such a terrifying thing. I don't know if it was the master family who gave her condolences. His explosives. It doesn't matter if it explodes with one hand. What's more terrifying is that his control over this object is unimaginably skillful. When it is thrown out, he can still control it and the speed of recovery is not slow. Each of these attackers had ugly expressions on their faces, and they were already imagining how many such ice and snow stones Jia Yan had in his hand, and how to deal with them if there were many. In other words, does such an extremely powerful explosion also consume the brainwave power of this mosquito creature? If so, there is still a slight possibility of killing it. It only takes a few brave people. Just stand up and bomb him. There must be a brave man under a heavy reward. Only Jia Yan himself, whose heart had been hanging high at this moment, finally gradually let go. Because I have become more confident. If the dozens of besiegers in front of him want to know how much positive and negative power he has, ice and snowstone, he will teach these people a lesson. Not many, just 50 or so. Jia Yan is a person who is very afraid of death. After he knew that the city was in turmoil, he quickly spent several days to make these positive and negative ice and snow stones. Unexpectedly, they actually came in handy. I was originally worried about whether these ice and snow stones with unknown explosive power could be of great help. But now I saw that they were still my trump card, not just one of them, but the strongest one. Moreover, if these enemies want to use up Jia Yan's brainwave power as they imagine, they can give it a try. His brainwave power was previously charged into the ice and snow stone. If it were to be consumed, it would only cause Jia Yan to cause the ice and snow stone to explode. I am afraid that all the enemies at the moment will die, and he will not be able to do so. It will consume 1% of the brainwave power. Walk. Jia Yan is not too arrogant and complacent. Every strong person has his own trump card and unique tactics. He cannot guarantee whether any of the strong people at the moment can crack the explosion of positive and negative forces, let alone that he only relies on this method makes him invincible at the same level. We are still surrounded by enemy troops, so breaking out of the encirclement is still the first option. Groan. Everyone heard Jia Yan's breakthrough words. But they didn't block it suddenly like last time. Rather, in unison, after Jia Yan said something and then hit his foot, almost everyone gasped, and then retreated back in unison. Damn it! You don't play like this. Everyone, including the little devil princess with her big eyes shining brilliantly, looked at Jia Yan, and after waving his foot, the white ice and snow stones began to fly around him, like planets orbiting the stars. Oh no, it's that damn unknown explosive rock. How many do you count? There must be more than 10 in total. Okay. One stone can kill and injure a mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy, so if he is surrounded by the presence of the princess of the master family, it will be enough to fill up these exploding stones with human lives? More importantly, God knows if there are any such stones hidden under the sky's wings. If there are, then it will be in vain if they use their lives to fill them. Besides, who would be willing to spend their lives to fill it? These are all strong men at the top of the middle level of the galaxy, or are they mostly fighting types who can't get enough of the glory and wealth, so they have to spend their lives to fill it? Just read a novel. So these strong men who had gathered around them dispersed around like a swarm of swarms. Haha, let's go. The little Princess Sela was not worried about these exploding stones at all. She immediately jumped on Jia Yan and hugged his wings tightly. Buzz. Jia Yan's wings vibrated, and the power of his brainwaves surged out, and then he took off, slowly flying out from the gap in the building he entered. But no one at the moment stepped forward to stop him, they just watched helplessly as he flew out of the building bit by bit. Even outside the building, among the strong enemy troops attacking other rescue forces, there was an unscrupulous mid-level galaxy peak person who jumped up and was about to stop him, a flying creature. Jia Yan did not use ordinary fighting methods, but made a powerful mid-foot swing. A pure white ice and snow stone that exuded brilliance attacked the creature in an instant. Result. Boom. Earth-shattering explosions resounded in the air, and bright fireworks lit up a large area of the night city. In the wave of fire, the strong man was shattered into a large piece of flesh and blood, falling from the air to the ground, frightening everyone in the enemy team who was showing off their power just now and completely stunned. You must know that although the leader of their team is not a combat creature, he is not far behind. But what he didn't expect was that it hadn't been long before he blocked the Ice and Snow City troops on the ground to support him. He had just gone up to block what looked like a strong person from Ice and Snow City, and he struck like this. Died. Where is that strong man who showed off his power just now? To be able to kill a peak mid-level warrior in the galaxy with such a simple blow, the existence of this Ice and Snow City must not be a combat powerhouse at the peak mid-level galaxy. It's still the more powerful fighting type. In an instant, the team below, which had been extremely stubborn just now, lost its backbone and lost the will to fight because of seeing the strong man. The whole team became scattered and dispersed. Ha 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 ha, Jia Yan, you are so awesome. The little princess demon, who was hugging Jia Yan, looked as excited as if she had won a battle. In fact, if she does it, she can achieve this effect, and she is even guaranteed to be even more powerful than Jia Yan. But she has to pay a price for each of the trump cards she has to free up, and some even have limits on the number of times they can be used, so if she can't use them, she won't use them. Therefore, for the moment, Jia Yan uses his own fighting power to achieve victory. It is extremely enviable that so many fighting-type mid-level peak powerhouses in the galaxy feel intimidated and even dare not attack. This is nothing, princess. These treasures are also my trump card. Alas, the loss this time is really too great. Ah! It's your trump card. It's no wonder. Why is there such a thing that goes against common sense? We don't have many master families. Let's do this. How big your loss is? I'll try to help you later and see if I can give you something. It's good for you to repay a little bit. When the little princess heard that Jia Yan actually used his trump card, she was a little disappointed at first, but after thinking about it, it made sense, so she wanted to make up for Jia Yan's losses. After hearing this, Jia Yan felt very happy in his heart. Although these ice and snow stones were not actually worth much money, he had put in so much energy and brainwave power to create them. Another emotion bloomed in Jia Yan's heart, that is, damn, you actually said that they don't have many at home, does that mean they have some? And there must be more than one kind. The big forces in this North Star cannot be underestimated. Jia Yan's positive and negative power explosives can be said to be the essence of his life. In the later period, they gradually evolved into a new system and were reborn into items like magic weapons. How much effort has been put into this? But one sentence from this family shows that they also have it. Alas, big dog owner. See how I cry about poverty when I look back, and then the lion opens his mouth and asks for more supplies. Comrade Laugia has made preparations to make good use of this contribution in the future and order more supplies. Anyway, he did turn the tide in this rescue act. Unlike last time, he almost became the protagonist and saved the princess. Isn't it an exaggeration to reward him? Of course, the request cannot exceed the level of the little princess herself opening her trump card, otherwise she might as well have used her trump card at that time. However, the power of the master, or the little princess herself, must be willing to give herself a satisfactory reward. Not only did Jia Yan help a lot, but another important key point was his strength. Jia Yan's own family knows his own affairs, and if he really fights with fists and kicks, he might not even be able to defeat most of the fighting-type galaxy mid-level peaks just present, and he might even be able to face some more powerful galaxy mid-level peaks that are close to combat-type powerhouses. Either way, they are likely to lose in embarrassment. But the problem is that the strong strength he has shown is definitely more than ordinary mid-level peak powerhouses in the galaxy. Even the average fighting-type mid-level peak powerhouse in the galaxy is more than enough. With such strength and having taken action several times, anyone in the Master's family who is not a fool will take Jia Yan seriously. Wouldn't it be possible to give rewards like that casually? Go down. That's our military camp. Jia Yan flew with the little devil princess for a while, and then the little devil suddenly pointed downward, and Jia Yan understood what he meant and flew down. This is a military camp, and there are strong men harassing the entire military camp, making it impossible for them to quickly break camp and go to the center of the city to support the trapped people. Of course, the people in this force mainly rescued the little princess of the master family. But now, when Jia Yan appeared high in the sky, Sela clicked her brain, and immediately a device below received her identification signal. Everyone in the entire military camp breathed a sigh of relief. It's the little princess. Princess Sela broke out of the enemy siege on her own. Oh my god, she must be in her 30s. Such a young child can actually have such abilities.